It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning for Tuesday, March the 12th. That was Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll, a song for which I have all the time in the world for. Anytime. We could play it 3 times a day on this show, and I'd be happy. It just works. I mean, run it back. I don't care. Led Zeppelin 4 was released in 1971. It's gone on to be the biggest selling album in Led Zeppelin's career. And I was thinking about it. With 40 to 50 million copies sold worldwide, and John Bonham, whose drum track is just extraordinary, I was like, man, that album sales, you add all that up, you look at the amount of albums Led Zeppelin sold, and I think John Bonham has earned, in his life and in the 40-plus years since his death, just from royalties alone, it's got to be a few $100 million. Kind of like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
who is now set to earn $400 million in his career should he play all 4 years for the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins, the John Bonham of... No, I can't even finish the sentence. Sorry. I can't say it. I can't say it.
Headphones off.
Why did I even pretend that was something I would say? Kirk Cousins, lovely guy. Really good football player.
Yeah, any NFL football player, any professional athlete that starts with lovely guy, goodbye. See ya.
Yeah.
Lovely guy.
Pack it up. Great fella.
Hit the trail. He'll love Atlanta. They'll love him down there for about half a season.
We did what we needed to do, but obviously left a lot out there. Could have played better, but we'll take it.
Sums it up.
I'll tell you sincerely, you know what his kids are going to be? Contributing members to society, good people, which is wonderful, which you can't overlook.
No.
But he's gone on to the Atlanta Falcons, which is, in terms of football greatness, historically going from the frying pan to the fire at best. The next time the Atlanta Falcons put a ring on their finger, it'll be never.
Before the Vikings?
The 12th of never. Boy, I tell you what, this is, this is what they used to say. Like, when Hootie and the Blowfish sold 5 billion albums in 1994 and 95 and 96, I used to say, and I meant this, couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of guys. Right. If somebody has to take over the world and be so successful that you all get sick of them, at least it's a bunch of nice guys. And Hootie and the Blowfish, great dudes. I knew them when they were, nobody. I know them now. They're all good guys. They've all just the same dudes. Just right as rain. You know what? If a tree falls down in your driveway, you need some help clearing it, call any of those guys. They'll come help you. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. Those are the kind of guys they are. You need help getting that tree moved? Call Kirk Cousins. He'll be right there. These are wonderful people. But Kirk Cousins is set to make over $400 million in his career because yesterday he signed with the Falcons 4 years, $180 million. 100 of that is guaranteed.
Astounding.
He could go Aaron Rodgers. He could go full Aaron Rodgers, play 9 seconds, 4 snaps, and he's still going to make $100 million from the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I argued with this station several years ago that mediocrity should be rewarded handsomely. They disagreed with me. I stuck around anyway. I didn't have an Atlanta Falcons waiting in the wings for me. But, I remember, when a player like that leaves, like Hunter will be leaving, our great pass rusher for the last, 8-9 seasons or something like that here in Minnesota, and you'll think, oh, man, all the highlights. Doggone it. I wish Hunter could stick around, but he had just too many sacks last year, and he's too valuable on the free agent market. He's going. And when Kirk Cousins left, I just went, oh. All right. I was trying to remember something great that he did while he was here. Won a few games. He padded his stats. He set the tone for a $180 million contract from some suckers down in the Southeast there. But, we will. However, I think Vikings fans will, miss him at some point next season because it doesn't look like there's, any great... quarterback coming into the rescue.
They will absolutely miss him. The word already is how far can they trade up in order to get one of the young quarterbacks in the draft. They're targeting, apparently, Sam Darnold, who is the backup in San Francisco. And that is, by design, a Band-Aid. It is let's bring in a veteran who knows how to, who knows enough to mentor, if you will, or either consciously or at least, in theory, a young rookie quarterback put someone on the bench, put him on a headset, give him a clipboard, and give him a year to watch Sam Darnold run around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, year 2, Vikings, start a whole new realm with a quarterback who's ready to step in and be a great starter for a decade. If they get lucky, because every quarterback draft, it's a crapshoot. Yeah, we know who's really, really good in college. It's hardly a perfect science. Chances are, one of every 4 quarterbacks drafted tends to turn out, like, to be really good. One of every 4. If they get lucky and you got a guy in a rookie deal and he's not if he's a 7th or 9th pick in the draft, that's even less money. With the defense, with the weapons the Vikings have, again, if you find one of those quarterbacks, this team is not very far away from being a serious competitor. Yeah. But that is a ginormous if.
Yeah, there's about 24 teams that could probably say that. Didn't they get Darnold for 1 year, $10 million?
Yeah, they signed him 1 year.
They did, nice.
1 year, $10 million. So that's, they're basically saying, okay, come on, join the gang. We've got Mullins and everyone else we've got sitting on the bench and compete for the job. But Sam Darnold doesn't have he's going to be reunited with, I guess, Josh Cowan. They quarterback together at the Jets. And that whole thing.
We've seen players, it is a possibility that Sam Darnold, he's 26 years old. He's got talent. It's a question of, does he have the right system, and is he smart enough to be molded appropriately? I like O'Connell. He's an offensive mind. Yeah. Stranger things have happened than Sam Darnold suddenly being like, hey, holy crap, the guy just needed the right system. So, hope springs eternal. That's the good part about it is we now have, 6 months of solid angst before we get any sense of what this team really has any pot. And really, it's more than that because
about 8 months.
The first 8 weeks of the season, you're like, well, it's just a matter of putting the pieces together and just got to tighten the screws.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, sincerely, Kirk Cousins, bon voyage. Nice guy, good dude, really good football player. He's not a great quarterback. He's a really good quarterback, and there's still plenty of space in the world for really good at everything. So, hey, man, no bad feelings. I would imagine from any Vikings fan. Thanks for playing. There is a parting gift at the door. Cheers.
Right. Yeah. we didn't have one of those super elite quarterbacks, but Cousins, when he came here, had that opportunity.
Yep.
And there were some Vikings teams they put together, and you thought, maybe. And that's the best you can hope for as a fan. It didn't pan out. But like I said, I'm glad. He's such a. It seems like such a genuine, authentic person with a great family. Get paid, man. There's a lot of people out there in the NFL getting paid. I have no problem with Kirk Cousins getting paid. And he was making $33 million here a year for the last couple of seasons, and I had a bigger problem with that.
Vaya con Dios, Kirk.
Vaya con Dios.
Great headline in the St. Paul paper, Kirk out.
Kirk out. That's a great headline.
That is great. I think we've got something up on the Facebook page already. I was just clicking over there this morning. Facebook is up today. We're up and at them. All of these Airbnb stories. So there's a story that popped up this morning that Airbnbs will ban hosts from spying on guests with indoor cameras. I stay at Airbnbs all the time. I can't imagine what they must have seen if I was only a little younger and more fun. We're going to talk about that here in, about 15 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Tuesday, March the 12th. For the third consecutive year, the MSP Airport is recognized, according to the Airports Council International, as the best airport in North America. 3 years in a row. This is results from the organization's Global Passenger Survey Program. MSP top spot for airports in the 25 to 40 million passengers per year category. And I'll just say this, I don't travel nearly as much as I used to, but if you don't know a lot of airports, you might not know how good you have it. MSP is tremendous. It never feels crowded, even though it's huge and very busy. And straight up, cleanest bathrooms in a major airport I've ever experienced.
You think so?
Yeah, for real.
Wow.
Yeah, I every time I'm there, some little part of me goes, This is a nice airport. This is really good.
Well, there is, to be fair, a lot of gay sex going on at the airport in Minneapolis. So, you don't, if you're just going to crap and, piss, who cares?
You
But
gotta
if you're
keep it
having
clean.
sex in there, you want to keep it nice.
I'm sorry, clean bathrooms, that's a euphemism for gay. I'm sorry, did I not make that clear? That's what I was getting at.
No, it's you know what it is, because we nailed the malls. We know how to do malls here in Minnesota.
That's right.
And just took the mall concept right out there to the airport. And you're right. It's, sometimes I'll gripe about the Minneapolis airport, but by the way, I like the new north and south security areas, which aren't so new anymore. But at first I griped about them, but it turns out they get you through pretty quick. But then you hit some other airports and go, oh yeah.
No, it's
not so bad.
Yeah, it's the grass is definitely not greener where that's concerned. And so for a lot of people who are going through that airport, especially this time of year, spring break being what it is, and then of course the summer holiday season, a lot of people going off to very exotic locations and staying in Airbnbs. Yeah. I've stayed in an Airbnb once or twice, I suppose. It's not necessarily something I think of as an option. And it's probably because I just don't feel comfortable being in someone else's place. I don't know. It's like a hotel's just clean. It's like Airbnb feels like you're an No, I mean as far as thematically, it's like well, this is a bit of a stretch. Airbnb to me, it's like having a fling with your neighbor, whereas a hotel's just calling a call girl. It's like look, you do this, I'm going to pay you, then we're going to leave. Airbnb, it's like you're getting to know somebody, and it's like, no, it's creepy. I don't want that. That's not what I'm here for. All right. And then again, if a hotel has a security camera in the hallway, if a hotel has a security camera in the elevator, what you're thinking is, well, good, I hope so. There's a lot of weirdos out there. The fact that you could go into an Airbnb in someone's home and there's a security camera, well, then that's like, well, yeah, this is just some freak who's getting off watching the footage of me sit here and read a book.
Oh, I'd like to think so.
That tall guy was reading a book. Oh, my God, I'm never going to lose this footage. And so now Airbnb is now saying we're banning the use of indoor security cameras globally. If you have an Airbnb listing, if you are an Airbnb host, you will no longer be able to have indoor cameras. Up till now, they've said, yes, they're allowed, but the host has to disclose that in the listing. Yeah. I've never for a second believed there aren't hidden cameras. I've seen enough bad movies on Netflix to know nanny cams come in teddy bears. They come in picture frames. They come in ceiling fans. I just assume they're everywhere in every Airbnb. Because why in the hell would you let a stranger stay in your house if you couldn't keep an eye on them?
Yeah. First of all, most Airbnbs probably aren't homes anymore. I stay in Airbnbs almost exclusively over hotels, and mostly they're corporations that have bought apartments in apartment buildings, like in the North Loop. There's probably 500 Airbnbs. Mm-hmm. They're just apartments that a corporation has bought. You never meet them. You get the conveniences of an apartment over, say, a hotel room with maybe a little added suite or something to it. So if you have an extended stay, but yeah, some of them are in people's homes. I always like to behave. I like to spice up my vacation and behave as if I am being filmed. Give them a little extra.
Sure,
show them the crack. I do remember though, this isn't an Airbnb thing, but you talk about the cameras. You have to be so careful these days. And gosh, I hate to incriminate someone completely innocent here, but here I go, staying with someone I talk about from time to time and may cohabitate with at an Airbnb. We decide to, it's sexy time. It's happening. We're on the road. Yeah. And no, it wasn't an Airbnb. I take that, but we got into the Airbnb talk. But anyway, we were dog sitting for someone, and we go over to their house, and we decide to stay there.
Is dog sitting in the Kama Sutra? I'm not familiar with that position.
Yes, and that's what we were doing because she didn't want to get on the couch. Didn't want to leave any stains, and we weren't going to use their bed. We're not, gross, uncouth people. So it was the standing dog position. But then we noticed that they had one of those pet feeders with a camera on it where they can just check in anytime they want on their vacation on their beloved pets and then kick it a treat. And I'm thinking to myself, they may have seen us getting it on.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I mean, leave and that's a great example of how it's always important to leave them wanting more, because I'm sure that was the best 42 seconds of the day.
Exactly. But I didn't know they could have, but apparently Airbnbs, you can't have them in the bedrooms, but you could have them. The big thing these days is a lot of these Airbnbs now have the noise thing. So if it reaches a certain decibel within the Airbnb, it sets off an alarm, and then they say, hey, you're being too loud. Haven't had that problem.
Well, you just mentioned that a lot of these Airbnbs are like corporate owned. I was unaware of that. Like my thought, see, here I am talking about something I truly don't have any experience in, because when I think of Airbnb, I just assume the guy is going to meet you there. He's going to open the door and he's going to say stuff like, "Do you like butterflies?" And I'm just, what are you, about a size 14? I'm just expecting James Gum to be the guy welcoming me into his lair, and so it's always going to creep me out.
Well, that was the genesis of all the Airbnbs and Verbios. It's changing a little bit. I think people are buying, or they have timeshares, or they're buying vacation homes or secondary homes to rent out for this purpose. I know some people that leave Minnesota for the entire winter. The snowbirds, they take off and they'll Airbnb their place. And you're right, it's a little weird. They have their family pictures on the walls.
See, that's the part to me. Okay,
odd.
all right, Wheeler, Candace, are you an Airbnb fan? Is this something you're familiar with?
Yeah, I've stayed in a bunch of them, and I feel like I hope they didn't see what we were doing in there, but I'm pretty sure they did. And I also stayed in one where the woman had all of her jewelry out and all of her knickknacks and fancy stuff. I thought that was kind of weird. It's kind of like she was fishing for someone to steal something.
Wow,
baiting you.
Yeah.
Okay, then fair enough.
Careful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, I just like it. I take a Motel 6. Just get put a chain on the door, close that bad boy up. Bring my own blanket, lay it across the bed, sleep fully clothed. Sleep with one eye open, fully closed, shoes on, and then call it a day. Get up the next day and keep moving.
Don't forget to put that remote in a Ziploc bag and use it that way. We had a friend that we traveled with all the time, and he used to do that. Yeah, right in the Ziploc. It wouldn't touch that thing. All right, we're going to move along here to Mike Evans' Hollywood Report. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, March the 12th, and it is time right now for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, everybody. It's me, Mike Evans. Welcome to Tuesday, and that goes for everybody, except what about Kirk Cousins? Huh? What's that all? He's one of my top 5 favorite quarterbacks, leaving the Vikings.
What?
Also, I got news on the Twins tomorrow, but first, hello to Steve and to Candace and to Zepparoo, Tony. And remember, today's the day. $6 gets you into any Marcus theaters where you can go in and see any movie you want. Only $6. Now you know who some of the Oscar winners were, so there you go. We start with a little love scoopage, and Candace loves the love scoopage. A person who is in the know says that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship is on like Donkey Kong. It's the real deal and has never been hotter. Travis was with Taylor for most of her Singapore 6 concert dates. Taylor got there 2 days ahead of the first gig. I don't know when he got there for sure. She and Travis stayed 2 days after her last gig, then rushed back to America so they could attend Madonna's post-Oscar party on Sunday. And while there were no cameras allowed at the party, insiders say they were all over each other. By the way, while in Singapore, they rented a little secluded villa for themselves that cost $14,782.60 a night.
Bag of peanuts.
So for the 11 days they rented this little villa, Taylor paid $162,608.60.
Bag of mixed nuts.
Is my math right? I think it is right, yeah.
Well, if they're the fancy
final
ones.
Oscar nuggets, Jimmy Kimmel will not be asked back to host the Oscars. Apparently, he ignored producers' instructions a couple of times on Sunday night, kind of talked down to one of them, saying that it was his ass on the line and he'll do what he wants. And is it true? You're hearing it first. Ryan Gosling has already been offered the hosting gig for next year. This is on the hush-hush, but you heard it here first. Oscar TV ratings show. Well, the good news is they beat the 2021 ratings. The bad news, percentage available to see the show were the second lowest ratings ever. More scoop, Barbie director Greta Gerwig is weighing offers for a Barbie 2. I kid you not. She has denied that in the past. But keep in mind, yeah, it only won one Oscar. But the movie Barbie cost $101 million to make. And so far, the Barbie movie has made $1,436,855 worldwide. Yeah, I'd be making another one too. That's amazing. TV news, May 16th, the final episode of Young Sheldon will air. And surprise, former Big Bang stars Jim Parsons is part of that spin. And Mayim Bialik will appear in that final episode of Young Sheldon. And I don't know why, but 1 week from today, Peacock will debut a new documentary on Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels? Who cares about Stormy Daniels?
Check the ratings.
Old? New?
Yeah, I own all her porn.
Still very upset about Kirk Cousins. Hey, have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. Mike Evans. See ya.
Wow, Zepparoo, he's really busted up about Kirk.
I'd like to be referred to as Zepparoo from now on. Well,
there was
Mike
a kid
and I
in our
were
school.
close.
His name was Kip, and he was a new kid. He was there 1 year, and his name was Kip, and he didn't strike you as a Kip. A guy comes in and says, "My name's Kip." You expect him to be kind of jovial, and this guy was really quiet and didn't really say much and just kind of looked inward a lot. And the only thing I ever remember hearing him say was, "I get a lot of migraines." And because it was so antithetical to his personality, we, of course, called him Kip Kipperoo. That's just what we called him. So when I heard him say Zepparoo, it just brought back the warm memories of taunting a poor kid with migraines.
I think it's going to stick.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Kip? Did you ever track him down on Facebook or anything?
Not a clue. Haven't thought about him in literally 40-plus years.
I mean,
but
he could be hosting a dating game locally or something now. Maybe he's a master of ceremonies. I don't know.
Here's your host. Nope, he's out. He's got a migraine. All right, let's have a look back. How about a sports and music history lesson?
Well, I appreciate a guy who knows his history.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Steve, what's happening?
On this day in 1994, Saturday Night Live was hosted, oddly enough, by Nancy Kerrigan. If you Google it, you'll see that she is widely considered to be one of the worst hosts in SNL history. Well, yeah, she was a 24-year-old figure skater who'd woken up before sunrise for 18 straight years to skate for 8 hours a day. She got busted up by a tire iron because another American skater sent someone in to take her out. She gave the performance of her lifetime at the Olympics only to get boat raced by a 16-year-old water nymph named Oksana Bayul. So she got a silver medal, which to Americans is like, nah, whatever. Yeah, I would have been a bad host too. Back off Nancy Kerrigan. It was great. She was America's sweetheart till everyone got to know her. Turned out she's like a working class kid from a Boston suburb who's like, yeah, I'll kick your ass, pal. I mean, she was just not at all what people wanted. I thought she was cool.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was the Raspberries Go All the Way. Eric Carmen, the leader of that band, the songwriter, the brains behind the operation, if you will. Early 70s, great band out of Cleveland. Died yesterday. He was 74 years old. But the Raspberries, one of those great sort of forgotten bands. They came out at a time, 1970, around the same. A couple years later, Big Star from Memphis was another band. There were these guys that loved the Beatles as they were kids, but then they also loved Led Zeppelin. They loved harder music too, and they were like, well, let's just be rock. Let's rock out, but have great melodies. There was a whole movement of bands like that in the early 70s, and not too many of them broke through. Cheap Trick was another one on the heels of that who certainly did break through. Badfinger, Todd Rundgren, Big Star, Raspberries, they're all sort of, I think of them all in the same kind of realm, if you will. And then in the 90s, all these bands that in the 90s were name-checked constantly by a lot of, unexpected alt-rock bands were like, oh, yeah, the Raspberries, grew up loving them. Eric Carmen was 74.
Raspberries, classic rock radio, they found a home. They would and they wouldn't, depending on how classic rock ebbed and flowed. World Party, the same. Dire Straits was in, World Party was out. Some of those one-hit wonders, new wave wonders from the 80s made it in, others did not. World Party was always on the outside, but I'd sneak them in from time to time and then get a good hotlining from the program director. We don't play that, Brian. But Raspberry is definitely one of those bands that rocked but scratched all those pop itches that you had. Certainly Eric Carmen, the big part of that.
Yep, no question about that. Airbnb, if you are a host or if you are a patron of Airbnb, you may find this to be good news. They are now banning the use of indoor security cameras in listings globally, which means up until now, if you've been in Airbnb, chances are there's been a security camera watching your every move.
Dun, dun, dun.
Man, what are you going to do? I mean, it makes sense to me. If I were going to let people stay in my guest room or a part of my house or I got a little apartment over the detached garage, it's not so bad, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
I clearly, as I said earlier, I don't have a lot of experience with Airbnb, so I assume they're all just falling apart. That there's like body parts under your beds and stuff. But apparently they're a little nicer than that. But they've allowed indoor cameras, security cameras, and now they're saying no more. And I can only imagine what led to a company like Airbnb, who, by the way, their stock, I mean, that's an incredible value. I've heard people talk about how it's one of the great success stories of the last decade because they get they don't have a product. I mean, there's no production cost. I mean, think about that concept of, at least with Uber, the guy's got to have a car. You've already, but then that's a nice thing too. But this is even bigger. It's a residence. It's a living space that the person already owns. Airbnb has no output. They're just like, you want to sign up? We'll let you in. Okay, fine. Give us a cut of the money you make.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good business model, and it is global. And now, for what it's worth, you can no longer have cameras. They had a rule earlier that you had to disclose cameras. They used to say, okay, not in the bedrooms, but you can have them elsewhere. But now they're saying, even if, the thing they used to say was, yes, you can have cameras, but even if the owners were told that the cameras were switched off, how do you know? I mean, how do you really know? And if I'm an Airbnb host, I'm going to put 3 very obvious cameras out in the room, and then I'm going to put 3 hidden ones too, just to, so they think that they're eluding your actual cameras. Until April 30th, you have until April 30th to get rid of the cameras if you're a host, and if you violate the policy after that, you will be kicked off the platform.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, there was the story in 2022. I thought that this had already probably been taken care of, but there was the story, I believe it was 2022, because Airbnbs really blew up during the pandemic because people had a lot of time off and they could do some traveling and hit the road, and this touchless Airbnb system all kind of came into focus back then. But there was an Airbnb customer who discovered a hidden camera in her bathroom. And it was one of those motion cameras. The device apparently set to take pics and transmit them to the user's device when it detected motion in the bathroom. And of course, this person said, well, my place was destroyed by a bunch of partiers. So you put a motion camera in your bathroom and you didn't disclose this to the young lady or ladies that were staying there. Nope, that pretty much makes you a pervert, dude.
Yeah, it really does. A pervert with a weird pervert.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's, right.
I just like to watch nature happen.
Yeah. But he said that I remember the argument at the time was that his house at the time, and I believe this was in the Northeast somewhere, had become sort of a pop-up brothel that young ladies, he thought, were renting this, or he alleged, rather, were renting this, and then having sex parties there, and... so, yeah, dude, if you want to be in the sex party, pay like everyone else and go through the front door.
I never thought about
free.
I never thought about how is it prescient? Prescient? How do you say that word?
Prescient.
Prescient. Yeah. I never thought about how prescient Risky Business was. The film Risky Business. Oh. Parents are out of town. Let's just set up a hua house. But Airbnb is clearly utilized in the same manner. I would imagine there's been a lot of. Is there a whole series of porn videos shot in Airbnbs? Is that like a genre? Airbnb porn?
Oh yeah, dude. If you can imagine, porn goes so far beyond our imaginations into some really dark areas. But we sat around one day just to amuse ourselves. Think about it. Punch it in. Just the craziest kind of porn you can possibly come. Giraffe porn. It's out there. There are giraffes involved with someone's weird porn escapade. It's all out there. But Airbnbs, I have a member of my family who I care very deeply about, who her and her psychotic Minnesota friends went to an Airbnb one time, and they just ended up practically destroying the place. And because it got some dads and moms involved, we had to kind of jump in there and go, what's going on? What's the deposit? What do you need money for? And so there was this assumption that you can't do that at a hotel, but an Airbnb, party down, go nuts, food fights, tear things off the wall. And it was a spring break thing, and there were consequences.
I don't know what this says about me, but when you say giraffe porn, I just immediately assume that you're on safari. You're in one of those great tree houses that look like in the first season of The Crown, and they got like a hammock, and it's elevated. Yeah. And then you are just making sweet, sweet love to the other consulting adult of your choice, and there just happens to be a giraffe looking in the window because he has that long neck.
Right, a voyeur.
That's giraffe. My idea of giraffe porn. Just some good consensual sex between adults, where the giraffe is lurking in the background. If it's anything beyond that, I don't need to know.
It is, as a matter of fact, because I just Googled it, and I'm sure I'll be hearing from HR later today. Giraffe furry porn videos, giraffe effing a girl, porn tag for giraffe.
Whoa. What? No. We're good.
Are you?
Like I said, if it's more than just
here's some audio.
We're good. Theater of the mind has its limitations.
Okay.
Wow.
Zepparoo with the kangaroo? Maybe. Let me Google it.
Oh, man. You get in this pouch, Joey, and we'll see what happens. Now, I've got a 7-foot rat out here. He's got a claw the size of a butcher's knife, and he'll slice you right in half. And that's not a euphemism, mate. I actually had a guy tell me that when I was in Australia at a kangaroo ranch, like you're feeding kangaroos by hand.
What were you doing at a kangaroo ranch?
We went out to a place. It was like it was a legit. No, again, not a euphemism, not a kangaroo ranch.
No.
That's a.
There's a bunny ranch.
The Aussies call that a dingo ranch. What you're thinking? That's a whole different thing.
No. I'm just picturing
you
like
fangs on that dog. It's that kind of vibe. No.
A day off on tour, and you're like, hey, let's run out to the kangaroo ranch. I think it'd be kind of cool.
We were in Adelaide, and it wasn't a day off. It was just the morning of a gig day. But we went out to a place, and there's just fields of kangaroo. They got koala bears as well, mate. You can give them a little bit of the eucalyptus they like to eat. They're just weird. The koalas are boring as hell. They just look at you, but they're kind of cool. But the kangaroos come right up, and you get the little pellet. They have looks like a gumball machine. You put a coin in there, but then you get a handful of these weird pellets, and they'll come up and eat them right out of your hand.
Oh yeah, like you feed the deer here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so it was that kind of vibe. And then, but then, like in the distance, you'd see a kangaroo that just looked like huge, and I'm like, wait. What's up with that guy over there? And they had a reddish tint to them. They were like gray, and then every now and again you'd see a red one. And this guy came up and he goes, those reds might stay clear. They won't come over, but if they do, back away. Don't turn your back on them. Just get back inside outside the fence." Yeah. And I'm like, "What's up with that?" He goes, "Well, we got a 7-footer out there, mate. He's got a center claw size of a butcher knife. He'll slice you right in half with it." And I'm like, and why? And why
it's
is
called
he
a velociraptor, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm like, and so why is he just roaming around? And he's like, well, what are we going to do with him? He's like, well, you put him somewhere else. Go for it. But he was not interested in getting near the people for the most part. But yeah, when you see one of those guys stand up, I'm 6'3", and a couple of kangaroos were within range, within 20 yards of me, that they'd stand straight up, and they were definitely taller than me. And then it's like, no, that's I'm not going to win this fight. I don't have a chance. The ones I was feeding were little guys.
Yeah. I like the little guys. And let's not forget the Looney Tunes cartoons when Sylvester mistook it for a large mouse, right?
Yeah.
The kangaroo got his ass kicked. By the way, there's just a fun viral video circulating out there just in the past week of kangaroos, like a herd. Let your imagination go when I say herd. It's that big of kangaroos just bum rushing a golf course fairway while people are out there golfing. Yeah, it's fairly entertaining. Hey, at 8 o'clock, we have a new game show. People are strange. All will be explained before 8 o'clock when we ask you to call in. Tickets up for grabs today. Minnesota Craft Beer Festival in April.
Nice.
damn fun does that sound? How about Blackberry Smoke? Let me say it right. Blackberry Smoke this Friday at the Medina Entertainment Center.
Anyway,
that's going to, yes, sir. That's going to happen before 8 o'clock. We've been talking about Airbnb spying on us. Just what weird things have happened to you when you stayed in someone else's home? That's just a broad question up on the KQ Facebook page this morning. And 651-989-ROCK. You know, we always love to hear from you. But what happens? So anyway, Airbnbs can't spy on us anymore, but apparently our new cars are. I know this. Everything is spying on us, right? But there's an article out this morning, new cars spying on us to our insurance companies. We'll get to that. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Queen, the song Somebody to Love. That's about as good as it gets in my mind. And boy, that Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters used to just tear a new one when he would perform that song. I wouldn't really say anybody could take that song from Freddie, but he gave it a hell of a run every time I ever saw the Foo Fighters. And the Foo Fighters will be here this summer. Josh Freese is now the drummer for the band. And I'm looking forward to that. Target Field, what is that, July or whenever that is? It's going to be a good night.
Hell yeah, it's going to be sick, man.
Going to be sick, man. Sounds like Candace Wheeler has plans to see the Foo Fighters.
I got tickets with my girlfriends. It's going to be, I just love, the last show I saw at Target Field, what was it? I've seen the Eagles, but the best one ever was the Stones. And it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But it was like amazing.
I don't doubt that. I didn't know they played Target Field.
Never mind. That was TCF Bank Stadium.
I thought that was a football stadium.
But Target Field rocks too.
Target Field
Anything
rocks
outside
too.
Is my point.
All right, I got it. Will you drive or will you take an Uber? You take the light rail? How do you think you're going to get there?
Hopefully Uber's still around by then.
No, that's true. Could be gone.
If they're not, I'm screwed.
Maybe you're going to get on that little light rail, finally see what that's all about.
Okay.
Oh, they're not going to go anywhere. A lot of huffing and puffing, I think, going on with that.
Well, I was going to say, because if you drive your own car, then, you might find yourself, it's a big night out. You're going to be in traffic. You're going to be excited from the gig. Good chance for some rapid acceleration and hard braking, which means your insurance could go up. That's right, Candace. Your car is spying on you.
Oh, gosh.
The New York Times has a big article about car companies. They're basically going to their customers and saying, hey, use this free app and let us share data with third parties. Yeah. And then that data, or data if you prefer, about your driving habits ends up in the hands of your insurance company. They will rate you based on things like speeding and hard braking. If your car has a touchscreen and what they call smart features, chances are it is paying way closer attention to you than you are to those smart features. GM is doing it. The source. The crux of the. What am I saying? The brunt of the article in the New York Times talks about GM, but most of the major car companies are doing this. They ask you to use their free apps. I had one with my last car. I've got one with my new car. I got a great car here from Maury's, and I use it to start it when it's cold. I don't really use the app for anything else. But there is fine print that says they can share your data with third parties. There's OnStar in GM cars. OnStar Smart Driver says this helps you become a better driver. But here's the deal. If you brake a lot hard, if you accelerate hard, anytime you drive over 80, that goes on your permanent record class.
Double secret probation.
Yeah, pretty much so. You can unroll. If you enabled it, you can unenroll, but you probably don't even realize you're doing it. But here's the deal. If your insurance company gets a hold of it, they can jack your rates. Occasionally, people have get notifications that their car insurance is doubling based on their driving habits.
There's a lot of that going on these days. The old
man
jacking the insurance rates. All right, so I'm on mine. Mine's a fairly transparent if you know where to look for it. On my car driving app, I have, in the past 30 days, I've been a bad boy. One phone handling. That's not bad. 5 hands-free calls. In 30 days, come on. I'm feeling pretty good about it. And 6 harsh braking. No handheld calls ranked on there. But then they tell me here that they're not going to use this to raise my rates, but they may use it to reduce my rates if I'm a good driver after a 6-month insurance policy period. However, they've already jacked my rates.
Well, they're using reverse psychology on you.
Yeah. I don't know if it helps or not. And to be fair, I voluntarily did this. And I did it because I was on my phone. I was looking at my phone. I was probably texting. Maybe I was looking up something really important like a show story. Maybe I was Googling Steve's favorite. No, never mind. I'm not going to go down that path again. But anyway, so I almost ran into someone. And they had a car full of kids. And I went, dude, like I had my talk with myself that one day about we're not going to drink and get behind the wheel anymore. And I'm like, dude, you've got to put this effing phone down when you're driving. And so I decided to do all this and track it and have my phone say, you're being bad for my own good because I'm just careless behind the wheel. And I have been my entire life. I have like 30-some tickets. My driver's license been suspended a couple of times in the state of Minnesota. They know all about it. Hey, Judge.
Really?
Oh, God, I got 12 in 1 year. 12 moving violations in 1 year. This was many years ago. This was more than 20 years ago. But I've done it to kind of police myself because things are just getting a little too distracted out there, and I don't want to be part of the problem. And I'm terrified, that I'm going to do something really stupid out there and hurt someone.
Fair enough. I'm looking. You got me looking at my app now, and I click on connected services, and it says you have no connected services enabled. So I'm just going to leave it like that. When I got my new insurance, when I got this car and I got it insured, they said, hey, we can do. The guy basically said that. He was upfront about it. He goes, we can, with the Bluetooth in your car, we can enable a thing, and we're not going to use it for anything other than to give you a better insurance rate. If we see that you're a safe driver after 6 months, we'll never, and he said, we won't raise your rate based on it, but we can lower your rate based on it. And I went, yeah, that sounds great. And then next time I turned the car on, I got a thing, the dashboard popped up. It said, do you want to enable this? And of course I pushed the button that said, hell no effing way. Yeah. That's the button I pushed.
Yeah, it's been a slow process for me, and I'll use my dad as an example. So last time I was home, I told him about this. I'm like, oh yeah, they have this feature, the whole thing, because Dad just got a new truck. And I said, I'm sure it's in your truck as well. And then Dad excused himself, and we listened to him on the landline in his office for the next hour and a half with the car dealership, who I owe an apology to in Mitchell, South Dakota, because my dad's like, I want it out. No, I don't want to disable it. I want it out of my vehicle. I'm like, Dad, your vehicle probably wouldn't run. Yep. Your local dealership probably doesn't even know how to take those computer chips out of it. You'd have to go back to the manufacturer. But he was incensed, this man that spends his entire day on his phone Facebooking. I'm like, you're already being spied on. But I've had to sort of acquiesce. We've had to give a little ground, haven't we? That, if I'm going to use the phones and the computers, I've got 2 cameras staring at me right now. I'm being tracked. My privacy is essentially gone. And, if you find out something I'm doing, I'm sure there are a lot more people doing worse things than me that would garner more attention. But so I thought, why not going on the insurance thing to self-police?
I think about that no matter where I go now. The fact that cameras are on you at all times. Like the other day, just over the weekend, I was in an elevator. And I picked my nose, as I am wont to do. and as I was doing it, I literally thought, someone's watching this. You just can't avoid it. It's like, I've seen enough CSI episodes. I know that a lot of things happen in elevators, including a guy just innocently picks his own nose. And but here's the thing. I'm thinking this as it's happening, and this is an elevator that is going from the first floor to the third. It's not like I'm in a skyscraper. and all this happens like in 9 seconds. And then I'm like, well, hang on. I got a little something. What do I do with it?
Just a flick.
When they go back to the security camera, because my brain goes right back to when the elevator door opens and I step off, and then someone puts a rag full of ether in my face and then kidnaps me, and the police are combing through it. I don't want them to be able to go, the last we saw of him, he was flicking a giant booger into the keypad of the elevator. Like literally, that's all going through my mind. So I just assume wherever I am, someone's watching everything.
Whenever you think look at that, do you look up and wave? Because I will do that sometimes.
I don't, but I should.
You just give them a little wave. Or wonder if there's anyone on the other end.
Or just look up and give them the total, creepy clown smile. It's completely insane. Wow. Speaking of creepy clowns, which is never a good segue. It's just a way to say something. Okay, Zepp sent an article this morning. He goes, hey, check this out. And it's an article that there's a salon in Dresden, Germany that offers its clients neck massages.
This one's for you.
This is a neck massage. Let's see, $40 for a half hour, which for a proper neck massage and shoulders, that's not a bad deal these days. In the modern economy, $40 for a solid 30 minutes up there, that'll set you free. The only problem is this neck massage, and just for the record, they can't fill the demand because so many people want it. They wrap a 4-foot python around your neck. And the python just slithers and crawls around. All of the muscles in its body are massaging your neck. And people love the snake massage.
I'm not scared.
No, I mean...
here's why I get massages, to reduce stress.
Right.
I would volunteer for the betterment of science and humanity. Okay, look at my base levels. Hook me up to all the EKG, EEG things, all the sensors, and get a full reading of what my central nervous system is up to. Then give me 30 minutes with a python on my neck and tell me where I am after that. If I'm still alive, then tell me how relaxed and better I feel after a python's wrapping itself around my throat for 40 minutes.
That curly hair all sticking out straight.
Oh, my God.
Like on a heartbeat of 189 on average. It would have to be one of those dares, where I get something out of the deal, or someone would have to pay me for a crazy radio stunt, put the python on your neck. But Candace, you sound like you're inviting this. Like
I'm not scared of snakes, man. Not a wimp like Steve Gorman.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, man, you know what? I mean, I hear black widows feel great on your feet. They're like nice little tickle. Just put some black widows in your socks and then walk around. That feels nice, too, doesn't it? It's ridiculous.
I've held a snake like that, and it's gotten up in my neck area before, and you just got to put a finger up in between there, and you can just wiggle them out.
No, I don't. I have to pull out a shotgun and kill the bastard before he gets anywhere near me.
I suppose the 4-footer doesn't have enough constriction yet. It hasn't matured enough to choke you out. I'm sure there's a snake handler or salon specialist that took an online snake class.
Have live mice handy and just
Listen.
Have one at the ready.
Hang a live mouse from your mouth by the tail.
It'll be fine.
I've got to, in order to get through the massage, I've got to provide my own live mice to be sacrificed. I'd just rather not get the massage.
Yeah, how about
I just go take a nap sitting straight up in a wooden chair? That's going to be better for me, trust me.
They have those electronic things now. We got mom and dad one for Christmas. You put it on your chair and you sit in it. It does your neck, your back, your lower back. No snakes involved.
I'll just get one of those big racks of beads that New York City taxi drivers used to sit on all day.
Yeah.
They seem to be happy.
Do
that seemed
snakes
to work
poop?
just fine. Huh?
I mean, is there excrement that comes out of snakes? Is it going to pee on you, or
you have to pay extra for that?
Well, that's funny because there's often, probably once a week, I think, hey, Candace, when's the last time you let a snake pee on you? So what happens?
I don't know now.
Weird heavy metal mistress of the dark over there. Give me a snake, wrap it around my neck. Bite the head off some avian mammals.
I need massages, and I have yet to find the perfect massage.
Would you walk on hot coals at a work function in order to build teamwork?
No.
Okay.
The one that weirds me out, and it's not a massage, but it's this therapy treatment. And I saw the last time I was going in for a massage, I get one every 10 years. I want more massages. I just don't seek them out. But a woman was walking out, and she had on, it wasn't strapless, but you could see her shoulders and big red cup marks.
Oh, sure.
They put the hot cups on you.
Oh, yeah.
The old cupping. It meant something very different when I was growing up, the old cupping. But that looks painful. It leaves red welts. Now, obviously, they go away, but after a day or two, that doesn't seem relaxing to me. I don't know but Candace, you haven't tried that one, the cupping?
No, I want to, though. That'd be fun.
All right. Okay.
Cupping, teabagging, none of it really. Sorry, no, that's not really in the same category.
Right. I mean, to relax, a nice warm cup of tea.
We used to a lot of times when you're on tour, promoters will provide. You'll walk into the venue and there's a masseuse on site, and that's a great thing for me, a drummer. A lot of neck, a lot of wrists and forearms, can really be helpful. There was a gig in Florida, and there was an acupuncturist backstage, and I'm like, it's the 90s, and I'm like, yeah, man, I heard that's amazing. And I met with the lady, and she said, yeah, let's try this. And she said, and so I got like a 30-minute chair massage, and then followed that up with some acupuncture, and it was like 15 minutes. And I know people who swear by acupuncture. I just laid there, and it was. How do I describe this? Nothing happened. I'm just like, you can tell me that this is increasing blood flow, but my pupils aren't even dilated. Nothing's changing. And then she took all the needles out, and she was like, how do you feel? And, of course, I'm like, that's amazing. Thanks so much. Because I just wanted to get out of that room. Like, there's the only thing worse. When you go get a massage and, 1 minute in, you're like, this person sucks. This is not. And then you have to, then you waste the whole hour because you're like, oh, I don't like this. This was that times 1,000 because I'm like, there's not even a chance they're going to stumble into the right muscle group and make it feel better. This is just a crazy lady who put a bunch of needles in me, and she's looking at me like, now? Is he feeling anything now? She was so excited. And I was like, no, really. I'm just going to go eat a burrito now. That'll make me feel better.
When you worry that they left a needle behind somewhere.
Of course.
Right. What's that sticking in my
Thinking lady, if I go out there, if my forearms cramp on stage during the show tonight, I know what's changed. I know what I know what was introduced new into this scientific experiment.
I have a good friend. She gets into all that acupuncture, hypnosis. That's how she quit smoking. But she did quit smoking, and she swears by hypnosis. But I think you got to be open to that as well, hypnosis, And I don't know, maybe it is the power of the mind. I'm not going to call it a placebo effect when it comes to acupuncture, but you got to believe it, really buy into it's doing something for you, and then your mind takes care of the rest. And well, at least you didn't pay for it, did you? Right?
Oh, no. It was. There was probably a back end. The promoter probably tacked it onto the settlement at the end of the night. We're like, the tour manager's like, all right, good night here. Sure was. And then, what's this $1,200 for under Steve's name? But as far as I know, I didn't pay for it, no. But thanks for now giving me 31-year, anxiety. I have to go back and comb over to my head. Wait, there was not a thing that said I'm paying for this, was there? Please, oh my God, no.
Somebody owes you some money. Well, free is always the best way to go, I think. How about free beer? How about a free concert?
Hell yeah.
We have both we're offering right now. Callers 9 and 2, 651-989-ROCK. Tony's going to explain to us what we're playing today. People Are Strange when we come back. The winner today, Minnesota Craft Beer Festival tickets, Saturday, April 13th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Prize provided by Minnesota Craft Beer Festival. Our runner-up today gets tickets to Blackberry Smoke Friday at the Medina Entertainment Center. Thank you to the Medina for providing those tickets. 651-989-ROCK. Dial up. Good luck and hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. In a few minutes, we're going to be giving away some cool stuff because we're cool people. And our listeners are cool people, except for the person who just hung up the phone.
Yeah.
We need 2 callers. We had 2 callers, and now we're down to 1. So we need someone else right now to come in and call 651-989-ROCK. Get yourself on the phone with Candace so that you can play a game we call People Are Strange. We've got tickets to the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival. We've got tickets to Blackberry Smoke. 651-989-ROCK is the number. We need a second caller. Get on the stick, would ya? New Orleans, if you've ever been, and I've been many times, I assume we've all been there at least once. And by we all, I mean most everyone listening. I mean, it's one of those places you find yourself in occasionally, if not more than once, at least one time. It's like its own little world. It really doesn't compare to any other city in America, except that everybody's hammered all the time. And how bad is it, New Orleans? Well, even the rats are stoned now in New Orleans, Louisiana. And that's because The New Orleans Police Department headquarters, the rooms where they store all their confiscated drugs, the evidence room, rats have invaded, and they're banging through all the weed.
Wow.
Yeah, the New Orleans Police Department has a rat problem. Rats, roaches. By the way, rats, roaches, no air conditioning, and broken elevators. This is NOPD headquarters. Nothing says, yeah, we backed the blue, like putting cops in those kind of situations.
Yeah.
Every time some politician gets up and says, I backed the blue, yeah, check their budget. Otherwise, shut up.
Yeah,
you back the blue. How about giving them pay them what they're worth, better train them, better benefits, give them a place to work where rats and roaches aren't running wild. It's all theater and it's all nonsense. You want to back the blue? Budget up, dude.
Then keep them off the streets. It's dangerous out there. Right. All sorts of crime. You thought those rats were hungry before. Imagine once they get into the geef. You'll be going nuts, man.
I got arrested. Oh, it's funny. I got arrested. I didn't get arrested. I got a ticket. I got arrested once. Well, the whole bunch of us on tour got popped in a little town called Van Horn, Texas. They did a border stop. There was no border, but they call it a border stop. You're right near the Mexican border, and there's just a stop on I-10 where they stop anybody going through. They just do a quick check of your car. In our case, a tour bus, and they were like, "Any drugs on this bus?" And we said no, and they go, "Well, I'm going to bring a dog on. Do you want to rethink that answer?" And we were like, "Yes." Well, there are some, and there was a lot. It was just weed, a lot of it. And they took us all in front of a judge. It was, we're driving from Phoenix to Dallas. It's a long drive. And then some yokel decides he's going to do the bust of the century with some rock band. It's just a few ounces of weed total. We get in front of a judge. It takes the whole, this is hours and hours and hours at the holding center. And then the sheriff from the town is called in. The sheriff leads us on our bus into the courtroom. We get in front of a judge, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" They pulled us over at the border stop. We had a bag of weed. She goes, "What are you kidding? I get my mom weed. Get out of here." She threw us right out. She could not have cared less. But while we were there, the local police at this tiny town of Texas, they were thrilled that a rock band was hanging out in their office for a while. And one of the guys comes up, he goes, "Do you want to see the evidence room?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he opens this room. It's like a giant walk-in closet. And it's just full of stuff. And like the first thing I look at is a set of golf clubs. I go, "What is someone like, was this a murder weapon?" He goes, "Oh, no, check it out." And he pulled it that looked like golf clubs, and each one of them, it wasn't a real golf club. It was a hollowed thing filled with methamphetamine.
Oh, cool.
Like powdered drugs. He goes, "Oh, and everything in here." And there's stuff like, there's he goes, every weird item you could imagine. Like there's radial tires, but they're not real tires. They're just like poured cocaine into the shape of a tire and painted. Yeah. And I'm like, "No way." He goes, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "There's enough drugs in this room, man. We can kill the whole state of Texas." And I'm like, whoa. It was crazy. That's in Van Horn, Texas, and I guarantee you there ain't a rat within a mile of that place. It was locked off, air temperature controlled, totally secure. Man, what a bizarre thing. All right, you know what? Let's move on. Let's give away tickets. The Minnesota Craft Beer Festival, Saturday, April 13th, is going down at the Minneapolis Convention Center. That's probably going to be a good time. I guarantee you this Friday night at the Medina Entertainment Center, Blackberry Smoke is playing. That's going to be a good time. Very, very dear friends of mine for over 25 years, closer to 30 years, and I can't wait to see them. Going to be quite a night. This is a band who just lost their founding member and drummer, Britt Turner, last week, a good friend of mine. So it's going to be an emotional night for your buddy Steve, but it's going to be a great night for anybody out in the house watching because that band delivers. We've got tickets to both, and we're going to play a game in order to give those tickets away. Tony, today's game is what?
We're going to try something a little different today here on Tuesday. Yeah, wow. Everybody's got weird quirks, including us Bizarros here on the KQ Morning Show. So we came up with things, real or fake, about ourselves that seem strange, weird, out of the ordinary. And you listeners now are going to guess if our quirks are genuine or made up. That's how that works.
That's a little unsettling.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I wish you would have prepped us for this.
Surprise.
Okay, then. Let's get weird, shall we?
Yeah.
We need two callers. We have two callers. Candace, who's contestant number one?
Tom from St. Paul.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
You ready to get weird with us?
I'll try.
Attaboy. We're not going to ask you to share any information. We'll just ask you to tell us if what we're letting you in on is real or imaginary, true or false. Try to make it easy for you. So, as this is the evil brainchild of Tony Lee, we're going to let Tony go first.
All right, we'll go around the horn. Okay, my friend, when this is kind of hard to explain, but when finishing eating, ideally the last bite for me has to combine the best of all that was on the plate. All encompassing, for example, like cheese, meat, pickle, all on one cracker. It has to be like one greatest hit. I have a very hard time having the last bite be a random one and just stop. Is that true?
I'll say that's false.
I'm very sorry. It is very true.
I would have bet the farm on that one.
Exactly.
Oh, Tom.
The trick is watching his every bite till the very last bite, which we've all done many times.
It's fascinating.
Tom, you greatly underestimated just how weird Tony Lee is. He's such an affable, gentle soul, but a heart of darkness lurking beneath. All right, Tom, you're 0 for 1, but you still got 3 chances. Candace, why don't you take a shot?
All right, so if you've seen me, you know that I am very strawberry blonde. Some would say redhead, but I am strawberry blonde. So I have very light hair, light complexion, but I have black hair everywhere else.
That's genuine.
What was that?
He said that's genuine. He thinks that's true.
Nope. All natural, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
I wasn't playing too much with the image. I just like the fact that if you spent any time around Candace, there's not a dark spot anywhere near that woman. I mean, we could launch her into space and black holes would cease to exist. Pale Force.
Wow. Black hair everywhere else. It made me think about that kid in elementary school who had some kidney medication and her arms got really hairy for like 6 weeks and then it went away.
Oh, wow.
All right, Zepp, you're up. Tom, good luck, sir. You got to bounce back. Get back on that horse.
Okay. Tom, here we go. While on vacation, I listen almost exclusively to Latin music.
While on vacation?
Yeah, while I'm on vacation, road trip, and I listen almost exclusively to just Latin music, salsa, that kind of stuff. Well, Santana.
I would say no.
I do. That's my quirk. That's my weird thing. Drives my kids have a tick now when they hear Latin music, or I'll throw a Braxis on the turntable on the weekends, and they'll start putting their earbuds in immediately.
Tom, just so you know. Just so you know, Zepp mentioned that last week. We had a long conversation about that. So, I'm not blaming you for not paying closer attention to a show last week. I'm just saying that's legit for sure. Yeah. All right, Tom, here we go. You got to try to get this one right to get 1 for 4. From the ages of like 9 to 32, I had some pretty significant OCD. In conversation, I was always aware of how many syllables I was saying. Every sentence or story I would share, it had to end with a syllable count divisible by 4. I would add words like just or just to always know that my sentences ended with a syllable count divisible by 4. True or false?
Wow, are you wired that way?
You tell me.
Genuine.
It is genuine.
All right.
Genuine.
Wow.
Well done, Tom. Now, thankfully, I mentioned from the ages of 9 to 32. Nothing a hardcore nervous breakdown didn't cure me of.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I can still do it too. I can jump right back in, but I no longer need to control my universe with such an extraordinary desperation. All right, Tom, you went 1 for 4, which, stranger things have happened. Don't count yourself out. Either way, you're getting a great runner-up prize or win. We're going to put you on hold for a second. Candace, let's get on to contestant number 2. Who we got?
Teresa from Savage.
Teresa, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling in. Are you ready to play People Are Strange?
I am. I would have had 2 out of 4 on Tom's section, but...
All right. Teresa's got game. Let's see how you do on this round, Teresa. Good luck to you. Tony?
All right, Teresa, since I was a kid, when I come out at night and I look up at the night sky and I see the first star that catches my eye, I have to say The little limerick, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might. Have the wish I wish tonight. And then I make a wish. I can't not do it or I feel guilty.
I see that being true. You feel guilty, but you don't do it all the time.
You are so right.
Any wishes ever come true?
Not telling.
Man, Teresa Freud on the horn. Not only did she say it's true, she told you a little bit more. Wow. All right, Teresa, deeper. Strong start right there.
Free analysis.
All right, here comes the translucent one herself, Candace Wheeler.
Well, I talk about my weird feet and short legs all the time. I'm actually double jointed in my toes, and I can write my name with them, with my toes.
I bet you can. Yes.
Thanks for believing in me, but no, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
It's that second C. She just can't. Yeah, it falls out. She just can't break it.
I just pictured an orangutan or something like that.
Wouldn't it be funny if Candace could, but she would misspell every word? It was like a weird glitch where her feet could do it, but her brain wouldn't compute. All right, Teresa, you're 1 for 2. Let's go, Zepp. What do you got?
All right, in my spare time, Teresa, I like to Google giraffe porn.
I'd say no.
No, I don't. I only do that when I'm on the clock.
That's right. That's
for the KQ Morning Show, right.
Yep.
Boom. Yep. Teresa got 2 for 3 already. All right, let's close it out and see how you do. This is something I've been accused of bragging when I mention this. It's not that at all. As a radio host and drummer, I think it's actually just weird as hell. But here we go. I got a 1560 on the SAT. 1600 is the high score as possible.
Yeah, that sounds like you've got potential, but I'd say no.
You are correct. I was nowhere close to a 1560. Are you kidding? Whew.
I know, but you have an eloquence to your speech. I like what she said. It's close, but
yeah.
Well, what was your score? No, I'm just busting your chops.
I don't know. I
don't know who remembers that anymore.
You know what? I actually never took it. I took the ACT instead. That's all I needed.
Yeah,
and I did. Well, I actually had a good score. I killed the English so well that I tested out of freshman English in college. My math score was like whatever. If you can get a 0, I think I had a 2 below.
Yeah,
in math. One side of the brain was on fire, and the other side was on fire.
Yeah, but you
Teresa,
count to 4 like a demon.
That's what I'm saying. The OCD helped. Teresa, 2. Sorry?
I was going to say a quick little story. In my third stint in college, I went to take a math exam placement, and they said, you're remedial, you're just a dope, go home. Well, my son was in second grade at the time.
Oh, man.
So he taught me his math. I retook it and tested out of math.
Nice. Yeah. That's right. And now look at you. You've got tickets. You are the winner today. You got tickets to the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival Saturday, April 13th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. That's a fine time. Congratulations. Tom, you, sir, as the runner-up. Sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
Tony just cracked me up. He's so subtle. His comments, he's hilarious. I just had to give him a shout out.
Well, I adore you to pieces. Yeah. Let's see, where's that extra prize file?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Something off the top shelf for Teresa.
Teresa Lee, ladies and gentlemen. Is that a cousin or an aunt? Or what are we talking about?
Candace writes most of Tony's lines. Just so you know.
True.
Tom, you, brother, are the runner-up. You got tickets to see Blackberry Smoke Friday night at the Medina Entertainment Center. That's going to be a great time as well. You guys were both awesome. Thanks for calling in and playing.
You're welcome. The Minnesota, anything with beer festival in the headline doesn't need selling, but I did jump onto the website. Awfully curious about this coming up April 13th. Enjoy unlimited pours from some of the country's best beers, over 100 breweries. There will be live music there as well, but
what could go wrong?
I don't know. I think I just want to show up and find out and hope I'm not part of the problem. That's a good one.
Holy crap. I just mentioned a minute ago that as a radio host and drummer, I heard those words come out of my mouth. And I know there are people out there who think, man, those are cool jobs, Steve. And I'd say to you, you're damn straight they are. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're sexy jobs, because Check this out. A recent survey said women are ranking the sexiest jobs for men, and the number one answer, I'm not making this up, is an accountant. Now, it's tax time. Maybe that has something to do with why women are so turned on by accountants. But here's what we got. Accountant, number one. CEO, just generally speaking. Like, you could be the CEO of an earthworm company. Like, I'm the CEO and the CFO and the COO, and I eat worms, whatever. But if you're the CEO, they're going to love you. Right. Doctor, lawyer, that makes construction worker, hell yeah.
Yeah, right.
Firefighter, yeah. And then this one, IT worker. No disrespect to the wonderful IT folks here in the building, but come on.
Yeah, well, you got to, the nerds, they're women. There's a value in that these days,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I pretty much, some girls just want like a nice guy, funny guy, a family man. I just look for things that I need them to do for me. Like I want someone who's a good cook, someone who's an accountant is sexy. You can deal with the money then. Yeah. You can, if you love laundry, go ahead. I just want things to be, I don't want to do anything.
You're looking for more than one man.
I don't want to do it.
So if your ship comes in, you're just going to hire a whole staff of people and then just be the happiest solo chick on earth, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got everything handled.
I think CEO is the one for you then, so...
if you could hire one person, if you could hire one person to be great at their job, and that was it, you had a staff of one that was going to do one thing for you and handle it. What would you get? A chef, a driver, a trainer? What would you go for?
That's a good question.
Either a chef or all those, man. I don't want to drive. I don't want to cook.
You get one.
I guess a chef for sure. Yeah.
I think so too. I think I could live a life where I have a friend who's a bit of a giant star. I don't want to name names, but his name rhymes with Darius Rucker. And a few years ago, we were talking, and he said, "Oh man, he was getting ready." Well, it was like 5 years ago. Hootie and the Blowfish was getting ready to go out on this 25th anniversary tour. And we did a gig together at my kid's school. We're having a good time after, having a drink, and it's all fun and games. And I said, "So when's that tour start?" "Oh, a couple months, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Man, you look great. You're getting in shape for this." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, that keto diet, man, it works for me. I got on keto, and he goes, I dropped like 15 pounds right away." I said, "Dude, you look amazing." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, I've read about that, but man, it's like you got to know what time to eat. You got to count grams and And he goes, "Oh, I don't know. I just told the guy, just give me keto food because he has a guy." And I was like, "Oh, so that guy?" He goes, "Yeah." So I just know he told someone, "I want to do keto," and some chef went over and said, "Give me 48 hours to learn how this works," and then he's just preparing food and giving it to him, and he just boom. I was like, "That's good living."
Oh, that'd be the best luxury.
That is.
That's good living.
I was honestly thinking accountant because I'm so bad with money and managing my own, and I'm a procrastinator when it comes to that stuff. So I thought it'd be nice to have someone just take that over. But I realized I'm already living with my accountant in a matter of speaking. But I like the chef thing. I always thought that was so... Not bougie, even higher up than that, like super high tone, because Oprah had a chef, and then she had her, I think I threw a T on that, and then she had her chef on the show with her, cooking, and they were going through her daily routine, and that's what I want. I want someone to feed me delicious, fantastic, healthy meals anytime I'm ready, at the snap of a finger.
So you used to watch Oprah?
Well, listen, remember back in the day when we had a few options? Sure, I would channel surf and stop on some Oprah stuff. For the show, Tony. I did it for the show.
She is the queen.
No, I don't want to get confused with being. I don't want you guys to think I'm lazy or anything. But
no, we already know.
I just want things done for me by the time I get home from slaving at work all day long. Is that too much to ask?
Whatever, lazy.
Guys, gentlemen, she's available.
I'll go work all day. I will. And I'll get home, and that dinner better be on
Candace
the table.
Wheeler is happy to bring home the bacon, but dude, you better fry it up right.
You've somehow evolved into a middle-aged man from the 1950s. Congratulations.
Hey, that's progress.
That's progress, baby.
It's like Chuck Klosterman. I remember once he was writing a review of Sex and the City, and he was like, people love this show because it's a show that finally shows women can be just like men and talk about sex and be gross. And he goes, and that's an advancement? He was like, wait, sorry. I don't really think that was the point, is to be just as stupid as we are. There's an elevated plane that you're already operating. It just reminds me. I like the idea of Candace as Don Draper from Mad Men around her house.
Yeah.
Candace Wheeler, she goes home, she literally puts on a business suit and drinks martinis and smokes cigarettes. Lung darts one after the other like there's no tomorrow.
God, the American dream is alive and well. You know who just cashed in on the American dream? Our ex-quarterback, Kirk Cousins. We might have to get into that if you haven't heard the story. We've got some details. Talk about maybe some new acquisitions for the Vikes. And there's probably nothing more satisfying than correcting a coworker. Just ask my coworkers. I provide them with plenty of opportunities every morning. For that bit of fun, we have some common phrases most people get wrong. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday. That means it is... Well, actually, I don't know what that means it is, but I do know this. Jason Schammer is going to join us in studio in about an hour. He's at the Parkway Theater. I look forward to catching up and talking with him about the show he's putting on. A very dear friend of Louis Anderson's. He's got a pretty special show coming to town. He'll join us in studio in about an hour. Kirk Cousins will not be joining us anywhere because that dude's going to Georgia. That's not the devil going down to Georgia. He's an angel, by God. What a lovely man. Kirk Cousins is heading south. He signed with the Atlanta, as my dad would say, Falcons, for a boatload of money. Kirk Cousins, 4 years, $180 million. I'm not a math genius, but I think that's $45 million a year.
Yeah.
Whew,
I don't know. I don't know if they got a new GM when they tossed out the head coach. I know they have a new head coach. I'm not remembering immediately who that is, but so you've got an entire career to look at for Kirk Cousins, and no one argues his stats. You know, they're right there with the upper echelons of quarterbacks working today.
Sure.
But, he just has, that's a lot of money to invest. But, like I said, just a great guy. He's been a pleasure. A couple of seasons ago was one of the most entertaining NFL seasons I've ever watched, and even growing up and loving my Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most entertaining seasons ever. Didn't end up getting much done in the postseason. So he just hasn't been one of those players that I feel like is ever going to get a team there, unless it's, one of those teams that's so stacked defensively like Brad Johnson did with Tampa Bay, or, some of these quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer. Did I get that right? That sounds weird to me.
Yeah, that's it. Trent Dilfer.
Got it done with one of the greatest defensive of all time with Baltimore back then. But so maybe he has a shot at but I just think Atlanta must be thinking they've got a lot of pieces into place to grab an aging quarterback past 35 and sink big money into it.
Post Achilles, too.
Post Achilles.
Yeah,
now, a few things in his favor. One, the Achilles recovery is clearly something. I always look at my smartphone and I think, okay, 10 years ago, what was your iPhone capable of? And it was pretty amazing. But if you went back and grabbed an iPhone from 10 years ago right now, you'd be like, oh, my God, it does nothing. Well, every bit of science / medicine / technology has 10 years. I mean, 10 years ago, an Achilles recovery was nothing like it is now. We're seeing people come back from things that, 30 years ago, your career was over. No, full stop. Now, it's like, well, when's he going to be back? It's just an Achilles. It's still a big deal, but it's not a life-changing, game-changing, career-ending deal at all.
Right.
And he's going to a lousy division. Think about being Kirk Cousins. Do you want to see see Jared Goff and that Lions team twice a year? Do you want to see Jordan Love twice a year, who amazingly now looks like he's yet another Packers jerk great quarterback? No, I'd rather go see Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Carolina.
Hey, I don't
He's
knock
going
Kirk
to the
Cousins
postseason.
for going there. Yeah.
Hey, he's going to the playoffs next year simply because he's in a crap division. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah, but the Falcons think that he's going to take them not to the postseason, to the Super Bowl for $180 million, 4 years. That's the kind of money you offer a Tom Brady at 35 or 36, or an Aaron Rodgers. He has neither of those accomplishments. But hey, good luck to all of them. Maybe it'll come together for the Falcons. I don't know enough about that team. Maybe they're like, we're just one pretty damn good quarterback away from taking this thing all the way. I haven't seen that with the Falcons, but I don't pay a lot of attention to the Falcons.
Sure. No, 4-year deal, $180 million contract. That includes a $50 million signing bonus, which means pen to paper, here's $50 million. Take away at most for various retainers and agency fees 20%. That leaves you with $40 million. Give the IRS a sizable chunk of that. You're at least putting into the bank very, very clearly $24 to $25 million.
Not a lot of room in the bank anyway, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, my gosh, that's for signing a piece of paper. So it's $45 million per season. And again, now he could go get hurt again. He could forget how to play football. His shoulder could just wake up one day and go, no, we're done. $100 million of that money, 100 of that 180 is fully guaranteed. So he's got 50 as a bonus, at least another 50, 100% sure coming no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So really all you can say to Kirk Cousins is congratulations. And all you can say to Kirk Cousins' agent, whose name is Mike McCartney. Mike, will you please call me?
Yeah, I bet his phone is ringing off the
God, what a
hook,
career
right?
Mike McCartney has made for himself. You've gotten Kirk Cousins over $400 million in his career in 6 seasons with the Vikings. And again, Cousins is a great guy, and he played very well. In 6 seasons, he went 50, 37-1, 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win in 6 seasons.
Yeah. New team, new results, that sort of thing. But like I said, I don't know what Atlanta has in place. Meanwhile, with the Vikings, I guess we're just, you talk about going into a season of unknowns. It is unknown from one end of that football field to the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sure locks. We'll lose Hunter here probably to free agency, but they signed, I'm already forgetting the pass rusher from Houston. That's a pretty dang good pass rusher and younger, but they freed up some cap money, so we'll see what they do because here you go. You've had a couple of seasons there, head office of the Minnesota Vikings, and now you've got some money in the cap. I think if I have a real remedial understanding of cap money, and with Kirk Cousins gone, I assume at $35+ million a year that they would have owed him, that they can move some of that money around. But it's just wandering into another season with, I wonder what the hell's going to happen this year.
We shall see. I'm curious to see how willing they are to move up in the draft and try to get a young quarterback. It's always fascinating. I mean, the NFL draft is, this whole period of time, it's pretty incredible. Like, you've got the NBA playoffs about to start, the NHL playoffs about to start, baseball's about to kick off their season, and the NFL draft will outdraw and out-garner anything else in this country in terms of hours spent talking and debating and arguing about it.
Yep.
This is a big one for the Vikings front office. Make no mistake about it. I mean, for all intensive purposes, see what I did there? You mentioned earlier there's a few things we get wrong around here. We correct each other on occasion here on the morning show.
Yeah.
A few things people say that we need to correct you every time. For all intensive purposes. No. For all intents and purposes.
Who says that anyway?
It's very proper.
Who says what? Either version or intensive?
Either. That's a weird thing to say.
No, I say that for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, but you're weird.
Sometimes I like to contextualize things, Candace.
Oh, my God. I hate big words.
I like to take advantage of the English language as often as possible in as many ways. Yeah. I'm not. Listen, I don't want there to be any ambiguity here. Okay.
That's why I like to talk fast. So when someone corrects me, I go, "That's not what I said. I said intents and purposes." Yeah. Clean out your ears, dude.
So, Candace, what you're saying is you want to nip it in the butt when I use big words.
The butt.
The correct phrase, of course, nip it in the bud.
Butt's better.
Butt actually is better.
Unless it's your bud's butt. Yeah, you don't want to nip it in your bud's butt.
In the butt, in the butt, in the butt, in the butt.
In the butt.
That's a good chant.
That's a really good chant. I love in high school we played a school and they did the Go Bananas cheer. Did you ever hear that one? They just literally the whole crowd started going, "Go bananas, go bananas. Peel it to the left, peel it to the right, peel it down the middle, and take a bite." And they would do and they all pretended they were holding bananas and then taking a bite, which looked more like they were, what's the word I want to use?
Suggestive.
Here's a big word, fellatio. And it was just like a whole bleacher section of students doing that. And I was like,
boy,
man, we'd get suspended if we did that cheer.
Right.
I know.
Those kids don't care.
We get suspended if we just had a banana on our shirt, for crying out loud.
Man, that's pretty true. Absolutely.
On my Charlie's Angels T-shirt, I had to turn that one inside out. Ed Hader had to turn his Disco Sucks T-shirt inside out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was not happening in middle school in Woolsey, South Dakota, back in the 1970s.
I played a basketball game in high school against a school from Nashville, Tennessee, Nashville Christian School, and their cheerleaders wore full-length skirts down to the ankle.
What?
The Amish kids are...
They were just, they weren't there to show off the flesh, man, but they wanted to root those boys on to acne-filled victory.
Lots of high kicks, I hope.
Not on your life. Not on your life. That was a strange one. The two weirdest, things I recall from, this is, small town living, there was Nashville Christian. They had skirts all the way down, and then we used to play a team. So where I grew up was like an hour from Nashville and an hour from Evansville, Indiana. So Southern Indiana and then Nashville, Tennessee. We'd go get soccer games against teams in those areas and basketball games. And there's a town in Southern Indiana called New Harmony, Indiana. And the little tiny school there in the town, the team nickname was Rappites. Rappites, because and it's the Harmony Society. It was a group of people that were from Germany. They were being persecuted by the Lutheran Church, and they moved to Indiana. They were founded. There was a spiritual leader named Johann Rapp, and he founded this town, and the team name was Rappites.
Oh, bizarre.
It was really weird. And so we went up there and thought that it was sort of like going to be a hardcore conservative, evangelical Christian sect. And it wasn't that at all. It was more like a hippie community, but from the 1700s. It was all about new harmony and everybody get along and anybody can do anything as long as it doesn't hurt someone else. It was a totally bizarre thing in a tiny little town in Indiana. And it looked like a normal, looked like Leave It to Beaverland, but then you'd kind of look into the vibe there and you talk to the people and it was kind of like, yeah, well, if my English teacher is attracted to me, so be it. As long as we're not hurt. He's like, I'm sorry, what?
No.
First time I ever did a layup line before a game to rock music in a gym was New Harmony, Indiana. Yeah. And I remember thinking, this is what they do at Lakers games. You can't play music in the gym. And we came and we were doing our layups. And then when the New Harmony Rappites took the court, they put on the Cars' Good Times Roll.
What the?
A mid-tempo, slower tempo dirge, but it was I was like, I've never jumped so high. I might dunk. I was so excited. They're playing rock music. This is the coolest, weird little town in America.
Yeah, except for the part where the English teacher gets you if they want.
Well, I'm just saying they were very very kind of loose. What can I tell you? 651-989-ROCK is the KQ talk and text line. If you've got a story about the Rapites in your life, or really anything, feel free to give us a ring. Condis? Who's on the fan?
This is a call about really anything. Wayne from Cottage Grove.
Wayne, good morning, sir.
You guys there?
We are. What do you got, brother?
My last name's Butt, B-U-T-T, and you guys are talking about it.
Is it really?
Nip it in the butt.
Hey, if you look on Facebook, my name is Wayne Butt, W-A-Y-N-E, B-U-T-T, and I grew up in a small town. My wife used to give me a hard time. She'd yell across the street, "Hey, Butt, did you wipe today?"
Oh, boy. Well, you had no choice but to marry her.
That's right, and now she has to live with my last name, and she loves it. It's a great last name. But speaking of T-shirts, in 6th grade, I wore a T-shirt to school, and the principal made me take it off. It said "Kiss my," and then the rear end of a donkey.
Oh, I thought you just had your name on the back of your jersey and
really?
made you turn it inside out. Wayne, Mr. Butt, we are friends on Facebook, I see now. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yes, you bet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, outstanding, Mr. Butt. Now, you were in the service, clearly. I see lots of chevrons and rockers on that sleeve there of yours in your Class A's. Now, in the Army, come on. I mean, that's almost like prison humor with Mr. Butt. You better have some rank.
I actually joined the Navy first and did 6 years on the USS Ranger, which was the first film of Top Gun, was on my ship.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was filmed in 1985, but I didn't arrive until 1986.
Oh, man, they don't know what they missed.
When the movie was released in, I think, May of 86, Top Gun.
Yeah, it sure was.
Very cool, man.
Right on. Well, that's wait, 6 years in the Navy, then to the Army? Am I missing this? What?
Yep, you're right. I did 6 in the Navy. I jumped ship and joined the Army and did 14 years and then retired after 20.
I bet you got more grief in the Army from jumping from the Navy. You got more Navy jokes than you did about your last name, Butt.
You're absolutely right. So speaking of last names, so in the military, you have a name tag or a stencil on your uniform. Mm-hmm. I was in the chow line, and the guy in front of me turned around, and I looked at his last name, and I kid you not, it was Dick Grabber.
Seriously.
And I looked at him, and I said, "Dude, I thought I had it bad with the last name of Butt, but you definitely have it worse than I do."
Oh, man.
Well,
if you
Wayne
had married his sister, Grabber Butt.
Holy crap. Wayne, so who do you cheer for in the Army-Navy game?
I always go Army.
Attaboy.
Boy. Well, they say Army-Navy, it's Army first, so you might as well. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well...
I always post go Navy and then go Army. Of course, go Army always wins.
Sure. Right on. Well, Wayne, thank you for the call, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Outstanding.
What a great attitude.
Hey, I mean, you've got it. If you can't get into it, get out of it, get into it kind of thing. You know, you can let it take you down and be a recluse and bothered, or just go all in. I'm Wayne Butt.
It's a coin toss. It's a coin toss made early in life. I'm going to embrace it or I'm going to fight it. And one way is way easier than the other. Mm-hmm. 6 years in the Navy, and then you're like, let me see what the Army's got cooking. Man, that's fascinating. I mean, I know just enough to know. I know just enough about military service and the branches to know that's not an easy transition. To your point, Zepp, the guy must have been crushed for having been in the Navy.
I've never heard of it happening before. I suppose maybe Navy Marines. No, maybe not as much. But, jumping like that. Yeah, that's good for him. Obviously, he's a confident man who likes almond M&Ms. I'm on his Facebook. That's like his cover photo. Just a package of almond M&Ms. I didn't get a chance to ask him, but there's more questions for Wayne Butt.
Might be
for
some
another
sinister meaning behind that we don't know about.
I don't know what's going on there.
One of my favorite memories. I'm sorry, this is completely random. The Black Crowes, my former band, our manager Pete had a buddy who was a TV writer, a guy named Jerry Persigian. You see his credits all over, like Sanford and Son and Good Times and the Jeffersons. He was just bouncing around back in the 70s and 80s on some huge sitcoms. He later, when I met him, he was writing for Fox TV, had a show called The Best Damn Sports Show on TV, and John Kruk and people, and he was like one of the executive producers. And I went and sat in on the set one day and hung out with him. Great guy, really funny guy. And he was backstage at a gig, and there were snacks laid out. And this is a man who at the time was like 50 years old. And there was a bowl of M&Ms, and then there was a bowl of peanuts, and then other things, and he just he grabbed some peanuts, and then he chased it with a couple M&Ms, and then he took a peanut, and then all of a sudden he put like 6 peanuts in one hand and 6 M&Ms in the other, and he was like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Hey, Pete, check this out. Have you ever had a peanut and an M&M?" And Pete goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "This is amazing." Like, he goes, "Now put them in your mouth at the same time," and he takes like a handful of both. He's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And Pete goes, "Jerry, that third bowl right there, those are called peanut M&Ms. And the guy's like, "Oh, they already have that?" He couldn't believe it. He was like,
"Oh, I thought you were kidding."
No, for a solid minute, he thought he had invented like $1 billion idea. And Pete goes, "Yeah, the yellow bag, dude, right here, peanut M&Ms." He was like, "Oh,
damn it,
man." Damn it.
Why don't you really blow his mind and set out a jar of peanut butter and then some just chocolate?
Yeah, go figure.
See if we can figure out that combo right there. I don't know if people get paid to do these studies. I'm looking at a study this morning about needing alcohol to have a good time. One gender needs it, one doesn't. We'll let you figure that out. I mean, these things are so obvious.
Let me guess.
Yeah, right? Well, we're going to... Don't. It's a cliffhanger. This is a tease, Steve, that we're doing. People know, right? We're gonna get into this here shortly. This is weird. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, March the 12th. Hey, good news, guys. When you go out and get drunk with all your friends, it's just natural. You're not a degenerate. You don't need to look in the mirror. By God, scientists at the University of Pittsburgh say you need that alcohol to go have a good time. So let her rip.
Yeah.
Seriously, a study from the University of Pittsburgh says men need alcohol to have a good time hanging out. Okay, first things first, duh. And secondly, duh, on top of it, not forever. There should be a point where you got to kind of move beyond it a little bit. They say the reason is this. Men are too embarrassed to show emotions, even happiness. What men? Who's embarrassed to show happiness?
I mean, I think if you get to a certain, I think this is almost kind of a bit outdated. I'm thinking of my dad's generation, you know.
Okay.
Although my dad's happy. I mean, my dad loves to laugh it up and all of those good things. I don't know about happiness, but they can be a bit stoic, right? They certainly don't, lead with their feelings unless the feeling is anger or disappointment. Well, not speaking from personal experience.
No, it's very true. When guys are drinking, they smile more. They're less inhibited. I mean, I've had no shortage of conversations with my male friends where you're like, "Man, I love you, man." But then I'm thinking, how many times has that happened stone cold sober? And the answer is never, probably.
Right.
So, yeah, women apparently don't need alcohol to show emotions, Candace.
Yeah, I mean, why would we? They're just flowing.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Flowing, that's a good way to put it. I mean, just because they just seem to pour out of women, that's why we drink, just to handle all the women's feelings. So many feelings flying around at me. It's like I'm in a blizzard of feelings. Eek.
I'm looking forward to the debut single from the band Wheeler. My emotions are flowing. I don't know if they're showing.
Yes, I'm drowning in that river of flowing.
I have got to be going.
What would you do, though, if you didn't have us,
I thought you were going to say, what would you do if I had a band called Wheeler and I put out a song called Emotions Are Flowing? I'd rock out. I'd play it every day on the show. It'd be great.
Our emotions bring out your emotions.
Well, that's the thing.
Is that the pre-chorus?
Yeah. Women lead us to our feelings.
Wow. Our
Cue
emotions,
the gong.
Our emotions. So your emotions are, you're the Pied Piper and we're the rats. Your emotions are the little song on the flute, and then we come scurrying out.
Why can't we be the kids?
Could be the kids.
All right.
Oh, wait. No, I'm confusing my stories with jokes.
Well, St. Patrick's led the rats out of Ireland, right?
That's
the
what
snakes.
it was.
That was the snakes, though. No, so now I'm screwed up.
Wait, what was the Pied Piper? Was he leading kids? Was the Pied Piper, did he take away all the children?
No, it wasn't. Didn't he take away the kids after he took away the rats, and then they wouldn't pay him for the rats, so then he took the kids? Am I right?
Okay, that must be what it is.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting confused
Mother
because
Goose stuff, Candace.
I heard a Pied Piper joke that was actually about New York City Mayor Koch once at a party, and the whole thing's never made sense ever since. It was a good joke, one I can't tell on the air, but it's just what it was.
Yeah, he led away the rats. When refused payment for his services, led away 130 children and disappeared with them into the mountains.
Oh,
that creep.
Wow.
Is the old Piper Inn still up there in Blaine? Great place to catch a pizza and a beer. That's what I'm thinking about. Old Piper Inn.
Anyway,
I think
Piper
it is.
Inn.
I haven't been up there in a while. Check it out. But anyway, so the Pied Piper. Anyway, women leading us to our feelings. Thank you. That's why we're drinking.
I want to get back to this record you're going to make, Candace.
All right, I'll start working on it.
So,
I got poems and all sorts of interesting writers of my.
So with your original,
heart.
we know that you're the singer in a Sabbath band, but if it's Wheeler, if it's the band Wheeler, or if it's Candy Corn Wheeler, or whatever we're going to call it, what I mean, are you going to go more for like a Stevie vibe, more mystic, earthy, witchy stuff, or what are you going to rock?
Probably like folky.
Folk.
I didn't see that one coming.
Like an
I would have got that one wrong on the game show.
An ode to goats.
An ode to goats
would be the single.
All right, we'll start stringing it.
We'll
go buy some of those dream catcher things and start hanging them in the studio. We'll get you in the mood. This is going to be great.
Here's your first cut.
Man, that's great. High on a hill was a lonely goat herd. Ole, ole, hee-hoo. Oh, don't get me started on the Sound of Music, Candace. You and your goats.
I can do the Stevie Nicks witch spin to that.
Yeah, you could.
Mm-hmm.
How many times before you fall?
Wow, thanks for believing in me,
with those
Tony.
feet and those ankles.
How many times with your maladjusted feet can you spin before throwing up? Let's find out.
Okay.
Especially if you've been. By the way, there's a new beer that's a coming. Speaking of spinning until you fall down and get sick.
Now I'm interested.
It's called Renew beer. Renew, 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 and it's not so much renew yourself. Like with the cleansing, it's not beer from the cleansing waters of Lake Minnetonka designed to renew you. No, it's Renew beer. It's brewed in the Carolinas, and it is made using recycled wastewater, or as I call it, wastewater.
Yeah, all right. It's you can get kind of a circular thing going right there. In, out, in, out, in, out. These things pop up from time to time. I just don't feel like we're there yet for the market, right? After Armageddon, post-apocalypse, when we're just looking to how to figure out how to put our own still together, and whoa, don't throw out that water. Don't throw out your pee. Don't pee on the ground. We can recycle that and make it into beer. Otherwise, I mean, you're really going for a niche here of people that are, socially conscious. Like, we should recycle everything, which is a good thing. I look for recycled plastic-made items now all the time, but I just feel like its time hasn't come. They're ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah, this is a brewery in Charlotte. They're called Town Brewing, and they have partnered with Charlotte Water, the folks that bring you your water down there. And a water technology company called Xylem, which is way too close to phlegm in my mind. So Charlotte Water processes 85 million gallons of water a day. Instead of returning it to the Catawba River, the water goes through extra purification. It's tested for 150 contaminants. And the process, they're saying, is the future of beer. Could be a solution for communities where water is scarce. Renew Brew won Best in Show at the Queen City Brewers Festival. Blind taste testing. Yeah, of course it was blind taste testing. You can't put that on the table and think people aren't going to turn sideways on it. It's not yet for sale, but it is appearing at beer festivals. Renewable water in beer. Honestly, sure. If you didn't tell anybody that's where it's from,
right,
nobody cares.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You're marketing, you're leading with it. I don't know that you have to do that because, hey, if I wanted beer piss, I'd drink a Heineken. We have it already.
Yeah,
okay?
I think back to my days as a university student on a Pell Grant, just wasting every cent of that damn thing. We used to get something called Cooks. You could get a case of Cooks for like $6.
Yeah.
And on the can, it didn't say beer. It said for real beer flavor.
Oh, funny.
I love that.
And it didn't really occur to us to double check, is this actually beer? What is this we're drinking? Yeah. And why are we ordering late night crystals, which is the Southern White Castle? Why are we getting crystals with this? What are we trying to do to ourselves? It was a true test of your gastrointestinal strength to work down some Cooks and some crystals.
Oh, we had Blatz, Olympia, some of those beers.
We had Fox Deluxe.
Oh, Fox
and
Deluxe.
Pfeiffer's.
Oh, Pfeiffer's. I remember the first time I bought Pfeiffer's, we were going to the boys state basketball tournament over there in South Dakota, and we're like, get as much beer as you can for $24. That's what we came up with, for an entire weekend with 28 guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And he came back with like a pickup bed load of beer. We're like, okay, well, now we're worried because that's way too much beer for the money we gave you. But yeah, it was Pfeiffer's, back in the day. It was couple of bucks a case or something like that, and that stuff, you couldn't get it cold enough to make it taste good. We tried, but it was just, you got that look on your face, like when the beer sat there all night, half the next day out on the picnic table, and somebody went out and took a swig of it. That's what it tasted like all the time, ice cold. Yeah, that stuff.
We had. I never had Pfeiffer's, but we did have a German exchange student named Jürgen Pfeiffer in my school. And
I blame him.
And this is in the late 70s, and he dressed kind of like a kid from the 50s. Like he'd have the blue jeans with the cuff like rolled up, and he wore loafers and like really crisp white shirts tucked into his jeans. That was the rage when he moved over. There was some company opened up a plant in our town, and it was a German company because several German families moved to town, and a couple of them, they sent their kids to my school. Jürgen Pfeiffer and Petra Rusringer, I believe, was the girl's name. She was Petra. She was cool right away. She just seemed normal, and she just had a better social sense. Like, of course, you see German kids, and they're not exchange students. They moved. They're staying. So, of course, you're going to just rip them to pieces. She got over it like in a day. She put everyone in her place. Jürgen was a bit of a harder case because when we would, of course, being the Wolves, Lord of the Flies, 8th graders we were, when we would go in with all our fangs bearing, he would back into a corner and take on all comers and talk about the supremacy of German life.
Oh my God!
And if you've never seen more Heil Hitlers thrown around in your life than a bunch of 8th graders in 1979 in a school, but he turned out to be a great guy. Like by the time 3 years passed, it's like no one even thinks about it. It's like, oh yeah, Jürgen, he's great.
Jürgen.
But when he first got to school, and he had great English, and he would always raise his hand in class. And any class you were in with him, the teacher would say, "Yes, Jürgen," and he would say, "Yes, I have a question." And they'd go, okay, what is it? Well, then after a while, the teacher would go, you don't have to say, I have a question every time. Okay, thank you. And then 2 minutes later, Jürgen, yes, I have a question. He couldn't stop saying, yes, I have a question.
Oh, funny.
And then so we forgot all about him being German, and then we were just like, the most inquisitive man in Kentucky, Jürgen. We just made fun of him for that. It just went through the whole thing. And then, of course, he didn't even play soccer. So it was like, what is the point, dude?
What is the point of Jürgen?
And then, as I said, as it turns out, great dude. Just super cool guy by the end of it, But imagine coming from Europe in the late 70s to a small town in Kentucky, and or vice versa. Just any kid at that age changing a country so dramatically. Yeah. I thought it was tough going from Maryland to Kentucky, man. Going from Heidelberg to Kentucky, forget it.
I'm going to give you one more leap on that, and that is Carl was our German exchange student my junior year of high school to Wolsey, South Dakota, population 350, in literally the most unattractive town in America. When you get out to East River, South Dakota, it doesn't have that expansive romantic wilderness and rolling plains of where they shot Dances with Wolves, and then you have the Black Hills. That's West River. That's cowboy country. No, this is wheat growers' hats, farm country, just dirt, flat, and dusty. Carl comes from I think he was from Kiel, which is a northern port city there. But anyway, he comes over, and they dropped him on like, you must be a D student. You must be a real a-hole in Germany to get dropped off in Wolsey, South Dakota. And, of course, it was a family that had invited him over. You understand how that works, Steve. I think a lot of people do. But Carl, and of course, we were savages out there in South Dakota. It was the 80s. We were just the biggest pricks on the planet. And Carl came, and we were raised the Germans, bad. We saw the war movies. Bad, even though I'm of German descent and the Zepp name. But we were very cruel to him until Carl showed up on the football field, because Carl did play soccer, and we had ourselves a kicker, and football teams, small football teams in South Dakota did not have kickers. You had the tight end or maybe the fullback or whatever that put on the shoe with the square wooden toe that would get out there, and we wouldn't even try. He didn't even try field goals, but Carl won us a couple of games that year as we went undefeated through the season.
He didn't think twice about going for 50-yarders either. I mean, the shape of the ball was a tough thing to get used to, but when you see a kid like that who grew up playing soccer, they're crushing 70 yards. If you let them kick a soccer ball, he would have kicked it from 90 yards.
Always drove us crazy because our coach was sort of that. I watch NFL football and college football, and they don't let them kick it past the 30-yard line. We're like, did you watch him in practice? I mean, he's almost putting it through the uprights on the kickoffs. Let's let that guy just boot the ball around. But we would watch him practice. I mean, you were watching a kicker practice out there. And Carl, wherever you are, thank you, brother. I hope life's going well for you.
I think back to all those years, and every year there was 2 or 3 exchange students in my school, and they're coming to this town. Now, our town, I say a small town, but there's 25 or 30,000 people there. You are from, small
village.
You're from a village,
hamlet.
And I just think about kids from around the world. We had when I was in 8th grade, my family took in a kid from France for a year. I mean, it got there in July and he was there till July, a full year. Laurent, who's still he's my French brother. When I was on tour in the 90s, I'd see him in France every time. He's still. I saw him 5 years ago. He had dinner in France when the family went over. So, been a lifelong friend and a great guy. But he showed up. I'm just now thinking this is totally random and out of the blue. But think about how different the world was in the 70s. He signed up to be an exchange student He grew up in a French suburb. A suburb of Paris. He signs up to come to America, and he gets on a plane with a ton of other students. That plane lands at JFK, the airport in New York City. They clear immigration. They go into a conference room, and there he finds out where he's going.
Oh, wow.
He left France having no idea where he was headed. Amazing. And when they got him to New York, then they handed what's your name, Laurent? And somewhere in his paperwork, and he put it together later, what are your interests? On that interest, he put horses.
Oh, boy.
And someone saw that and went, send him to Kentucky. And so they said, you're going to Kentucky. And he's like, I am. And they're like, you said you like horses. And he goes, well, yeah, I mean, they're okay. And but in his mind, and this is, we're talking about this later. Here's a kid. He's 17 years old from Paris, basically. He's at JFK Airport, and he's being told, you're going to Kentucky because you love horses. So he's thinking, I'm going to go to Lexington. I'll live on a horse farm. There ain't horses in Western Kentucky. So then they put him on a plane to Nashville, Tennessee. Well, you couldn't do that now with TSA and blah blah. But it'd be literally he just had one of those airline tickets in the 70s. This will take you somewhere, and we'll tell you where when you get on the plane. He lands in Nashville, Tennessee. We got word. My parents drive to the airport with very little. We knew we were getting somebody. Had no idea who or from what country. And then they got a phone call. There's a French kid. He's going to be in Nashville tonight. Okay. But the 70s were crazy.
They were. We were just really on our own.
Winging it. As a country. As a world.
Yeah. So
drove to Nashville, picked him up. He comes off the plane. They're like, hello, come with us. And all of a sudden he's in our house that night. Stayed there for a year. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you just think of being a child, of the 1970s. We were basically left not to completely raise ourselves. Dinner was ready. Dad, had a job. My mom ended up having a job in the late 70s. I mean, things were happening, progressing. But for the most of your day, you were just, from a very young age, you were just, it was actually get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get something. I'm either trying to clean or Dad's trying to get something done or whatever. It's get the hell out of here. And we just walked outside, and the world was our oyster, we get into all sorts of trouble and just maim and hurt and.
Well, that's the thing. When the world's your oyster, sometimes you're eating those oysters in a month that doesn't end with R.
Yeah.
You have problems.
Isn't that the truth? All right, we'll get along. We have a guest coming up here. Curtain Call. Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson is the show that's coming up here a couple of nights at the fantastic Parkway Theater. Our guest, Jason Schammer, will join us in about 15 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, March the 12th. 2 nights from now, Thursday, March the 14th, at the Parkway Theater, Jason Schammer will be performing a show called Curtain Call, Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson. This is a show that premiered in 2022 at the Minnesota Fringe Festival. Now an expanded version will be at the Parkway, one night only, and that is 2 nights from tonight on Thursday. And Jason joins us in studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Jason Schammer, your show Curtain Call, Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson. I mean, just reading this, when I heard about this show, my first reaction was goosebumps, because Louis Anderson is, you can't overstate his impact in the world of comedy, not just here in the Twin Cities, but around the world. He's a legit icon, and very clearly a man whose importance in your life cannot be overstated.
No, absolutely not. He was one of a kind. You know, there was no one like him before, and there'll be no one like him after.
And you met him when?
Oh, probably about 12 years ago or so. He was doing a comedy boot camp here in the Twin Cities.
Right.
And I went to it. I had met him a couple of months before that, just at a random event at Rainbow Foods in St. Louis Park.
All right.
He was doing promo for his New Year's Eve show.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so you were dabbling in comedy already on some level.
Yep. I was working on it. Nothing quite to the level that I ended up doing, with Louis by any means. But I remember meeting him, and it's just so funny, because I was like, I also do stand-up comedy. And he's like, oh, that's great. You know what I mean? Type thing.
Sure.
Because I'm sure he gets it everywhere he goes.
Of course. Well, that's what I was thinking. He's a guy that, for the people who, well, any artist like Louis, a lot of people laugh and think he's funny. And then there's the people who their connection is just immediately deeper, more visceral. It's like, no, I get this. This guy's talking to me. Were you one of those fans initially? Was he someone who really, really hit you in that way?
Absolutely. I grew up watching him on TV quite a bit. And, I was a bigger kid. And we kind of look alike. You know what I mean? Yep. We have the gap in the front teeth and all that sort of thing. So even like growing up, everyone was just like, even my grandma was just like, you're like a little Louis Anderson. So it was just this kind of thing that just kind of always hung over me. Even in college, like he was hosting the Family Feud. Yeah. And people were like, it's weird watching him on the Family Feud, because you two look a lot alike.
This friendship endorsed by grandma. Go figure.
Right? Absolutely.
Pretty great. And so, but then you get to know him, and then you ended up, for years, you were opening for him in Vegas.
Yeah, I did. I moved out to Las Vegas. I was out there for a couple of years as his opening act.
It's incredible. I mean, that's a jump.
Right? I mean, talking about a dream come true.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a fast track in comedy.
And so very much a mentor, I would imagine, and in a relationship like that. And from what I know about this show, Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson, a mentor on and very much off stage as well.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The thing about Louis is who he was off stage was exactly the same as on stage. It wasn't an act. It wasn't a character. So just even driving across town was hilarious.
Right.
Even when he's not trying to be funny, he just was funny, just a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Man.
I think of the Jason. By the way, I mispronounced your name. I've seen you on television all over the place, and then I still said Schammer. I'm sorry, Jason, about that a little bit earlier.
Oh, no problem.
Talking about you joining us. I met, I don't know, in the 90s, early 90s, I believe. Yeah, in fact, it was, I think, maybe 92. I'm at an essay in downtown on LaSalle there, and I have a flat tire. And I'm down there monkeying around with my tire, trying to get some air in it. And I hear, oh, you got a flat tire. And I look over in the car next to me. It's freaking Louis Anderson. Now, this is the first time I've seen him. I only moved to Minneapolis the year before. And I said, Louis Anderson, because I didn't know him, and I wasn't a Minnesotan, but I knew of him, certainly, and you just called him Louie. I said, Louie, and he goes, oh, that's terrible. Can I get you a candy bar or anything when I'm in there? and it was every time you're around Louie, which was too many times to count, a friend here at the radio station. You're right. It was just, he just transferred that right onto stage. He just walked onto stage and was himself, and it was effortless and hilarious. This show sounds amazing. And, he wrote a couple of books, as you know, Dear Dad and the Hey Mom books, and it sounds like this is sort of an homage to that as well.
Yeah, it really is. He wrote the books to his parents, after his parents passed away, is kind of coping with the grief process and whatnot. And, I just still had so much to say to him after he had passed away. Because, he was that one person, like, every night after a show, I would call him on the drive home, and we would talk, and we'd break down the show, what went well, what didn't go well. Especially if it's a corporate, he's just like, corporates are always terrible.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It was just always, And so to just all of a sudden now not have that was really hard.
Yeah.
And so I started kind of putting the letters together, and then I had a collection of them, and I got into the Fringe Festival, and I was trying to think of something to do that year, and then it hit me. I was just like, well, why don't I, basically do an homage and a tribute to Louie?
Yeah. That's really something I was going to ask. Did this start as something just more for your own peace of mind? And it sounds like it did. You were just writing those letters to get it all out. Like you said, you still had so much you wanted to say. But I would imagine also you don't get to call him after shows now, but you can probably know what he would have said. I mean, I'm sure it still races through your mind as if you probably are able to talk to him anytime you want.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, echoes of him constantly in my life.
Sure. The show is Curtain Call, Letters to My Friend Louie Anderson. It is at the Parkway Thursday night. That's 2 nights from tonight, Thursday night. And so putting the actual show together, though, it's one thing to have written some letters, and then it's another thing to think, okay, well, maybe there's something here. I mean, how long, once the idea hit you, I could kind of do this. I could maybe present this as a show. What was the timetable from that idea first hitting you to, I'm going to go put this up on stage in front of people?
It was about 2 months.
That's fast, man.
Yeah. It was fast, but I had all the material there. So it wasn't creating something from scratch. It was a matter of picking out, letters that I think really kind of showed a side of Louie that people wouldn't necessarily have known or seen. And then also kind of the lessons learned. Because in each letter, there's kind of a takeaway. Like, what did I learn about being a better person or as a comedian, that sort of thing.
And then again, one thing to write those letters, one thing to feel all that you feel and know all that you know, but then to present that publicly, that has to have a whole different emotional charge.
It did. I remember the very first performance.
That's what I'm thinking. The first time, I can't imagine how you even got through it.
It was tough. My voice cracked. The first letter, I got choked up, and then I just had to have a moment of just Louie always said, be authentic, be you. Yeah. And I was just like, here I am grieving Louie. The audience, obviously, they're fans of Louie. That's why they're there. So it's just kind of like group therapy of sorts,
Right.
And it got easier with each letter, and the thing is too, there's so many funny things in the letters,
I'm sure.
Like it's recalling like a time like we were at a garage sale, because like we'd be driving to a gig and he'd see a garage sale and he'd make me pull over. And so there's Louie and I wandering around someone's yard and garage, and he's looking for treasures,
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I can hear him saying, be authentic, and then, well, not so much. Back it off.
Exactly.
to a point.
You'd always tell him, don't get more laughs than the headliner.
That's fantastic. So is this something that you plan to, is there a plan for this beyond, you're doing the Parkway? Is this something you're going to continue to expand and move on with? Or how does this fit into the general scheme of your career?
I'm hoping it does.
Yeah.
It's something that, so I did the Fringe Festival, and that was just straight letters, stand-up and storytelling. And then I expanded it and retooled it. I did a performance a year ago at the Paramount in St. Cloud.
Okay.
And so in there, I did a little bit of restructuring. We added a musician, DGS, who's an amazing violinist.
Right.
And what they did is they basically wrote a soundtrack under each letter. So there's music accompaniment underneath the letter, which just heightened the emotion.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
No, my first thought was, let's just torture you up there. Then you got to hear a violinist playing,
and they're phenomenal. I mean, they're just a genius on the violin. They do all the looping and all that sort of things. So it's just this really rich, full sound coming from, that's like played underneath each letter, and then they obviously don't play when I go into the storytelling or stand-up bits. But it was a great tool to separate the letters from like the act, if that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely.
And the response was amazing.
I bet.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people have asked me like constantly since then, when am I doing it again? When am I doing it again? And so, I thought, March is Louis' birthday. It's coming up on the 24th. And I thought this is a good time to do another tribute to him. And the Parkway is the very first place that I ever opened for him. So it's a very full circle moment.
Yeah, great venue.
Yeah, that's a lot. This whole thing is a lot, just emotionally speaking. And yeah, to your point, you got to get up there. You got to go through the show. You got to be a pro, but you got to be authentic. I can only imagine walking in there. The first time you opened for him at the Parkway, so that's got to be a dozen years ago or so.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm sure you're going to walk in Thursday night, and it'll feel like it was a dozen minutes ago.
I remember that night vividly.
Yeah,
he called me. I was actually driving to the Parkway because I had bought a ticket for the show. And he called me. He's just like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm coming to see your show." He goes, "Great, you're going to open for me." Like, there was no warning. There was no. And he just goes, "I want 10 minutes of your best material." And I remember looking at the clock and thinking, "Well, I'm glad I'm wearing my good shirt because I don't have time to go home and change."
Yeah, no kidding. How long were those 10 minutes?
They flew by.
Did they?
Because here's the thing, Louis' audiences are always the most gracious people.
Yeah.
They're just so kind. And, and the thing is, they're kind of like, well, if Louis likes them, we're going to like them.
Yeah.
So opening for him was easy in that sense.
That's pretty cool, and that says an awful lot about Louis, for sure.
Plus, I thought I was his kid.
What?
He got it all the time.
I'm looking at pictures of you. I'm on the parkwaytheater.com, by the way. And there's a photo of you in this collage of photos here. And you look like his kid. You could definitely have been in the Anderson family.
Yeah, even at his funeral, some people thought I was family. So it was very interesting. Like, yeah.
I mean, this is for those of us that have had an acquaintance with them and ran into them personally and professionally so many times over the years. This feels good that this is in your hands and it's being done. A way for us to remember and to love Louis all over again. And this is close. This isn't someone out there going, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to take incorporate some Louis Anderson in my act." This just feels good and fun. And yeah, I'm looking at the reviews again. theparkwaytheater.com here for Thursday night. And people are over the top about this show.
I would never suggest people do things like this with a goal in mind, a specific agenda. But like you mentioned, you guys you saw him at a grocery store in St. Louis Park. There's never anything wrong with putting yourself out there, because it's not a question of, are you going to get a perfect result? But every door leads to another room full of doors. And if you don't walk through that first one, you never know what's going to happen. And I love stories like that. I like hearing people's path. And, who would have ever thought like, oh, this, I'm not even thinking of it as a career. This relationship I had that means so much to me, it started at a grocery store. Not many great things happen at grocery stores.
Don't.
You walk in, you get the stuff, you bitch about how much it costs, you go home. Rarely does a story like this, start in the produce aisle in St. Louis Park.
Yeah. I always joke, I was like, well, where else would two big guys start a friendship other than a grocery store? So, I mean, it makes sense in a weird sort of way.
So in music, any band, if you pick up a new record, a record by a new band, you can always name check their influences. Almost always, I was in a band and people, when we first came out, said, "You guys sound like the Rolling Stones." And I was like, well, there's a really good reason for that. We're ripping them off like crazy. So how much of when you hear yourself on stage, when you're up doing your act, not this show, but you're being you, stand up, how many, are you aware of it and to a level, more than anybody, but how much of Louis is infused in you? Not in a ripping off, but as a general influence and as somebody that you learn so much from?
Yeah, I that's a really good question, because I get it sometimes after a show. People will be like, oh, I can definitely see like the Louis influence on you.
Right.
And I don't know if it's what came first, if it was the friendship with Louis or just how I was.
Yeah.
Because I was just always kind of very expressive.
Right.
Facially and all that, even as a young child. So I don't, it's one of those things that I've often wondered about because we spent so much time together. How can one person not influence another person? Of
course. No, yeah. And by the way, that question is not at all like, oh, you're taken from him. I just mean that from that because that kind of a relationship. Like I like the old line, like friends don't meet, they recognize each other. And it seems like you guys from the jump had that wasn't mentor-mentee. It was just two people that clearly just, I get this guy, he gets me.
Well, he always would tell me that I reminded him so much of himself when he was younger. Right. And then, there'd be times where I'd just kind of be watching him or observing him or whatever, and I could see myself in him years down the road.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It was just a really weird, but yet interesting connection that was between the two of us.
Yeah, that's really, really pretty special. The show is at Parkway Thursday night. Curtain call, Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson. I can see this as being something too. That Louis wasn't the biggest comedian. He's not like out doing arenas and necessarily like people love to put things in those terms. But a giant in terms of the people that get him loved him and got him in a really deep and resounding way. And I do think this is a show that a whole lot of people, not just in this area, but everywhere, would really love the chance to see. I mean, I just know Louis fans are for real fans. They're like you mentioned, a very warm and inviting. If the kind of fan base you'd say, well, if Louis likes this guy, I'll probably like him too. That's not normal for comedians.
No, it's not, to be honest. And the thing with Louis that's really interesting, too, is like you forget how much he's done until you start looking back at all this stuff. And you're just like, oh, wow. Like he was, on all of these different TV shows, as different characters, and did whatnot. And then you're like, oh, he wrote books and he did an animated series and he was the game show host. And so it's really this wildly prolific career, but it's not like something that's just in the forefront of everyone's mind.
I think a big part of that is what you said earlier. He's the same guy wherever he is. And so somebody who takes on, Daniel Day-Lewis, every role is this whole different thing, and then anybody's career you look at it and you're like, oh, he was able to do these 12 things. Well, Louis did 12 things, but they felt like one because it was always Louis.
It was always Louis.
So you kind of lose sight of how much stuff it was.
Yeah, even Coming to America.
Right,
right. He's hoping someday to work his way up, the chain of the restaurant and that. I mean, it's Louis though. You just watching him. It's like he just walked onto the set in a different outfit, and just did it.
An old friend of mine who's been a friend of this show for decades, and a guy who started his comedy career in the Twin Cities, Jeff Cesario. When he mentions Louis or just that name comes up, there is a reverence, and it's just, I've known Jeff for 20 years, a little over 20 years. And Louis pops up in conversation with other people for a million different reasons. There's always a Louis reference from people. And just from watching one guy, like his face, Louis' name, there's just this charge of man. I mean, like like I said, the reverence and respect and just the true love for Louis as a person, because they both were young guys, kind of getting their start here in the late 70s, early 80s. And he's told me stories. I never met Louis, but through Jeff, I feel like I knew the guy because I've heard so many stories. And everything you're saying, it's just few people have ever had a more consistent reputation, if you will, or a consistent, every third party anecdote I've ever heard about the guy makes me love him that much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Jeff, Louis, Scott Hansen, all those guys. I mean, they started the scene here,
right,
in Minnesota.
If you're a fan of comedy from this area, then you are certainly a fan of Louis Anderson. Curtain call, Letters to My Friend Louis Anderson. It's at the Parkway this Thursday, March 14th. Tickets are $20 in advance, $25 at the door. There's probably not a better way to spend your Thursday night. Jason, you're welcome anytime, brother. Thank you for coming in and telling us about this show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I have to ask you one last question just because this is what I do. First concert you ever saw, what was it?
MC Hammer.
That a boy.
Please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
Hell yes. How big were those pants?
Oh, right.
Man.
Those were the days.
Oh, wow. That is fantastic. All right, well, we'll hang around. We've got time for a quick history lesson.
Well, I appreciate a guy who knows his history.
Well, you've come to the right place. Steve, what's happening?
I'll tell you what's happening. It's March 12th. On this day in 1994, Aretha Franklin was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. I'm sure she was great. The host, however, was not. It was Nancy Kerrigan, the figure skater. Widely considered one of the worst hosts in SNL history, which, when you think about it, makes perfect sense. She was a figure skater. She spent 18 hours a day for 20 years skating, waking up before sunrise. She shouldn't have been hosting SNL. I mean, kudos to her agent, but come on. I actually loved it when Nancy Kerrigan, when the world actually got to know her after there was the Tanya Harding, the tire iron, right?
Right.
Then they go to the Olympics. Astoundingly, both compete. Nancy gives the performance of a lifetime, but comes in second place because that pesky little Oksana Bayul showed up from the Ukraine.
Yes.
And blew her off the... I mean, like, I don't know anything about figure skating, and I remember watching and going, oh, Nancy just won the gold. And then Oksana Bayul went, and I went, oh, no, she didn't. That girl just killed her. But because we're Americans, we're like, silver? Nah, we don't care.
Yeah, if you're not number one in America, it doesn't matter.
But then I realized I really liked Nancy Kerrigan because she was like she was from a suburb of Boston, like a working class town. And she was mean. You could tell, like, don't cross her.
Well, wasn't there something with her with a hot mic at Disney World?
There was a hot mic. I don't remember the Disney World.
I think she said something about Mickey Mouse or
probably
something about the parade or something, like not wanting to do it.
Well, at the medal ceremony, before the medal ceremony, Oksana Bayul, it was when she did her thing. She was crying, and Nancy Kerrigan was on a hot mic at the Olympics, going, "Oh, is she going to cry some more? Can we get this over with?" I was like, "Man, right on. She's awesome."
Following the Olympics, they had a parade for her at Disney World. It may have been for more of the Olympians than just her, but she said she was caught on mic saying, "This is dumb. I hate it."
Oh, yeah, there you go. Outstanding. Come on. You get a redo. Get her on SNL now. We need to give her a break.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.